Interesting. Your programme's coming out over the Vipers Thunder BBC Online. of May, the opening rounds of the Charlotte Edwards Trophy for 2022. There's going to be a moment's silence. If you're watching on the live stream, you can see the pictures right now, the two teams lining up on the boundaries edge, and a moment's silence, as teams have done earlier on in this season, to remember world events and the conflicts that are going on around us. So if I suddenly break off for the moment, I will stop now. And there is a few people in at the ground here as well, so we're set for an afternoon fair of cricket. Let's bring you up to date then with what has been happening in the last half an hour. I can tell you that the Thunder, the Northwest Thunder, have won the toss, and they are going to bat first. 20 overs aside. The 8 regional women's teams split into 2 groups. We'll go through all of that for you in the next few minutes and over the next few hours. But myself, Kevin James, and alongside me, a former Vipers Academy all-rounder and our TMS commentator as well, Melissa Story. Melissa, good afternoon. This promises to be a close affair, doesn't it?
It does. There's exciting players in both teams here for the Vipers. We've spoken about the new signing of Anya Shrubsole recently after retiring from England. We've got new England players such as Maya Bouchier, Charlie Dean, Lauren Bell. But on the other side, you've got a couple England players as well. We've got Emma Lamb playing for the Thunder, Alex Hartley, ex-England player, now TMS commentator, and Kate Cross as well, the opening or first change bowler for England women. So it's exciting, 2 teams playing each other today.
Okay, the Vipers making their way out to the pitch with their traditional orange tops and darker tops as you go down towards their sort of stomachs, and then dark trousers as well. And the two Thunder batters coming out in their sort of more greyish tops and dark trousers. Right, let's run through the 2 teams for you. Shall I do the Vipers and you do the Thunder? Vipers are Georgia Adams, the captain, Ella McGacken, Georgia Elwis, Charlie Dean, Maya Boucher, Paige Schofield, Freya Kemp, Carla Rudd, Nancy Harmon, Anya Shrubsole, and Lauren Bell.
And looking at that Thunder squad, the new captain, Ellie Threcold, is going to be doing her first proper game in this competition as captain. Georgie Boyce coming in top of the order, Danielle Collins, Kate Cross, the England Kate Cross, Phoebe Graham, recently signed from the Diamonds, Alex Hartley, Laura Jackson, Hannah Jones, Emma Lan, Sachi Pai, and Sophia Turner.
So that's how the 2 teams line up this afternoon. Now, 2 groups of 4, as I say. South East Stars won this competition last year. Each team plays each other home and away in their group. The best group winners go straight through to the final in the afternoon. The other group winner and the best second place team compete in a semi-final in the morning. Those finals will be taking place in Northampton on Saturday, June the 11th. So it's all pretty quick, this competition. Here's the first delivery then. It's Lauren Bell, right arm pace bowler, up the hill here, and that's driven out on the offside by Georgie Lamb, I think, is facing the... it's Georgie Boyce facing the first delivery, I think, or is it? No, it's Emma Lamb. Tell a lie. Emma Lamb, whose brother, Danny, plays for Lancashire, of course.
Is he playing the game at the moment?
I haven't looked actually, Mel, but I'm sure we can do that as we go along. So 20 overs per side. It's very much the same rules as the men's competition, the T20 Blast. Here we go. Lauren Bell comes in again and bowls. It's full, and that's driven square on the offside by Lamb, and again there's no run.
Already getting that early in swing we see so often from Lauren Bell. It's why she's in and around that England squad at the moment. She's a tall figure out there, probably one of the tallest bowlers in women's cricket at the moment. And that just sideways movement she gets often troubles a few opening batters early on in the game.
Yeah, accurate couple of first deliveries from Bell. She comes in again up the hill, bowls, right arm over. That's a low full toss, just as we say, it's been accurate. That was a slightly more loose delivery, and that's hit out square on the leg side, fielded by Paige Schofield, another one of this Sussex contingent in this Vipers side. There are quite a few of them.
Well, we were discussing this on the way over here, of course, that this squad is made up from quite a few counties, the Southern Vipers. They have Dorset, Bucks in the squad as well, Oxfordshire, but predominantly represented by Hampshire and Sussex, who perform in Div 1 of the Women's County. But a lot of Sussex players in this squad today.
That's right, yeah. Lauren Bell is one of the few exceptions, much more north of the south, and that's driven out a low full toss out into the covers, fielded by Ella McGacken, another of the Sussex contingent. This game is probably notable as much for the several players that aren't involved today. No Danny Wyatt and Tara Norris for the Vipers. They're in the Fair Break tournament. Got that right. I said Fair Trade last time, didn't I?
I'm sure it's Fair Trade as well.
It's close enough. And no Sophie Eccleston for the Thunder. Here's Lauren Bell again and bowls, and that's another low full toss which is driven up to mid-off, and it's Boyce facing, and that's a good stop there. Is that Anya Shrubsole? I've got to get used to seeing her. I've got to get used to seeing her in the Vipers top.
That was an uncomfortable first ball to get in the field from Shrubsole, because it just popped up at her and she actually just collapsed almost onto the ground. So
only one run in this over so far. It's been a bit of a mix, actually, isn't it, really, after starting well. Lauren Bell comes in again and bowls. It's almost a Yorker, and actually it's a wide down the leg side. Just swung in, didn't it? And the ball just taking it away from the batter.
She has had a bit of trouble in the past, Lauren Bell, with those wider deliveries just because of how much swing she manages to generate. But I've heard a lot over the winter. She's really been working on controlling this, especially the new ball. So hopefully for this season, Lauren Bell will be able to pick up those wickets early on.
Part of the England A contingent down under during the winter. Again, that'll be a quarter wide down the leg side. It's Georgie Boyce facing, yet to get off the mark. And we mentioned quite a few Sussex players in this Vipers lineup who won their regional T20 tournament. Of course, Lancashire won their regional one, and Georgie Boyce part of the Lancashire contingent, as well as Emma Lamb, the batter at the non-strikers end. So quite a heavy dependence on just two counties here between these two sides, as that's off the bottom of the bat, driven out towards extra cover. That's fielded by Georgia Elwis, another on the England A winter tour, although she's played for the full England side in the past. So we've had one over of the 20, and the Thunder, having won the toss and elected to bat first, 3 without loss.
It's interesting you mentioned that the Thunder take a lot of their players from that Lancashire kind of region, and actually across the Thunder team and the Manchester Originals they have 11 common players, which is the highest out of any 100 teams. They really like to invest in their local academies here. They don't tend to signing new players. Of course, we've seen a few new faces this season for the Thunder, but they're very, very focused on homegrown talent in the Northwest, as we're going to see our first over from the elusive Freya Kemp from the Cromwell Road end. She'll be bowling to Emma Lamb, the exciting 17-year-old left arm seamer.
One of 3 debuts in the Vipers squad today.
Kemp to Lamb then, and that's clipped off the legs into square leg region, and they get through for a single. 2 fielders in the deep at the moment, just that deep square leg and fine leg, so showing early on with that angle of left arm that Kemp's just looking to attack the pads and the stumps early on.
Getting a few tweets in already at Sonant Sport if you want to get in touch with myself or Melissa this afternoon. Paul Williams, who's in Portugal, be good weather over there as well. At Sonant Sport says, have a really good feeling about this year's Charlotte Edwards Cup, and it looks a lovely day in Hove. It certainly is.
Kemp to Boyce, and that's flicked away into the leg side. They're running hard here between the wickets, but get through for another single. Can't think who's the fielder out there in the deep.
We're used to seeing Emily Windsor out there, but of course she's been left out today.
One of the, as we say, names left out of this Vipers squad, of course, with Emily Windsor, Alice Monaghan, the newly signed Chloe Hill, not in the squad today as Kemp in. That's a full ball, strikes Boyce on the pads, strikes Lamb on the pads, apology, and a big appeal from the Southern Vipers. Just looked maybe like that was going down the leg side, pitching outside leg as well.
Yeah, but nice shape on the ball there from Freya Kemp. I'm getting my first look at her. I don't know if you've seen her before, Melissa.
I've only really seen her through the Academy live streams, and she very much looks as if she's a level above the rest there. She has an incredible Yorker, which takes many victims in those Academy matches, as she's in again, and Lamb advances down the pitch, driving to extra cover for no run. So yeah, she's an exciting prospect for the Vipers, especially as we mentioned with Tara Norris over in Dubai playing in the Fairbreak tournament. The fact that Vipers have kind of these two left-handed options is really, really good for their variety in their bowling attack. And also, I mean, England are always on the lookout for left-handed bowlers, as Kemp in again and Lamb uncomfortably trying to drop that on the leg side, but just clips her pads and no run taken.
Just a little shape from Freya Kemp. The ball just straightening a fraction into the right-hander. Two batters just having a chat in the middle there, just trying to work out a plan, I guess, to play the left-arm seamer. She's coming down the hill as well. I mean, gosh, I've seen players have a 10-year pro career and never get to bowl down the hill. And she's 17 and gets it.
I told you, she's something special. There's a feeling about it around the Vipers camp as Kemp in again and defending is Lamb back to the bowler, and that completes the over. 5 for none Thunder so far. So a good tight over there from the 17-year-old.
Yeah, very tight at all. Emma Lamb, of course, breaking into the England side during the back end of last year and in the winter.
She did, and I couldn't help but feel slightly bad for her in the circumstances she was thrown into, of course, in that Ashes series. I think thrown in suddenly from a position where she'd been opening for her domestic setup, then middle order for England, and then was thrown into that opening spot again, only to face Elise Perry and then got a 2-ball duck. Which is never the ideal start to an international career.
Not at all. Here's Lauren Bell up the hill then, and bowls, and that's way outside the off stump, and Bell now, having bowled a couple of wides down the leg side, finds that she's done the same outside off stump.
I kind of understand why Lauren Bell bowling from this end, because actually I've seen a couple women's domestic games played here at Hove, and another bowler who's quite similar to Lauren Bell, Emily Arlett, who plays for the Central Sparks, found a lot of success bowling from this end, who again has that same inward swing.
Yeah, Bell bowls, that's better, and that's driven back to the bowler by Boyce. Yeah, it's and this wicket's quite unique here as well. There's never a lot of bounce here. It's quite a hard surface to bowl on here. You always want a little bit of bounce whether you bowl spin, whether you bowl seam, and you never really get it too much here. So, Boyce it is. He played 6 Charlotte Edmonds matches last year. That's way outside the off stump, and that'll be called another wide. Well, I don't think the Thunder will mind too much here because they're making progress with just wides. That's 7 without loss now. They are in the third. 87 runs in total last year for Georgie Boyce, top scorer 34.
She hasn't quite found her feet, you'd say, early on, but actually as she's been given this cemented spot at the top of the order, she's really come to form for the Thunder.
That's a nice drive, and Anya Shrubsole diving and she stopped. What a great stop that is. Well, she's going to get a couple of Vipers come over to her there and give her the low 5. That is a fantastic, athletic piece of fielding.
That is, and actually she's fielding at mid-off, which is my favourite place to field as well, because I just feel as if obviously the batters are hitting it so powerfully at you. Anytime you execute a slightly good bit of fielding, everyone comes in to give you a high 5, and it feels good as a fielder.
She might have retired from international cricket. She doesn't look as though she's lost too much enthusiasm. There's a nice drive, and that's going through point for 4. Width there from Lauren Bell, and that's a beautiful shot there from Emma Lamb.
Yeah, just that ball a bit too wide. We'd seen those wides following the delivery, and Lauren Bell perhaps just over pitching it a bit too much here as well, and allowing Lamb just to get her hands through it.
So there are several ways you can watch and listen to this afternoon's action here in Hove. We are on the BBC Sport website and app. Just go to the live action on the cricket pages. So no ball now from Lauren Bell. There really is a mixture from the tall seamer from the Vipers. So that's one way. We're also on the live picture feed as well. Now, if you go onto the Sussex cricket website, go onto the Match Day Centre, and if you go onto the fixture page, just scroll down, go to this fixture, and you will get the live pictures with our live commentary as well.
Is this delivery a free hit?
It will be, yeah. 13 without loss. In the third, his Bell up the hill again and bowls. Lamb drives, it's in the air, but it's through the gap, through extra cover. Beautiful shot, that's 4 runs. Beautiful piece of timing as well.
You sense that perhaps this over might just be the last one for Lauren Bell. It's not too often you see 3 over spells anyway in T20 cricket, but Vipers have the options here, and as soon as one of their bowlers starts to get a bit too expensive, they have someone else waiting on the sidelines, specifically Anya Shrubsole, who in fact I'm quite surprised was not given the new ball.
Well, I think it might be coming to her a bit sooner than maybe planned as Bell bowls, and that's clipped away off her toes by Emma Lamb, and that will be a single out into the deep on the leg side. Paige Schofield away to our right, and the Thunder are 18 without loss here in the third, having won the toss and elected to bat first.
Yeah, Emma Lamb, top run scorer last year for the Thunder, with 218 runs and a strike rate of 152. So you can see with 24 fours, 3 sixes, why she kind of was slipping into that England setup.
Not bad at all. That's a half stop by Bell, but it's going to beat the fielders behind her, and that's going to be 4 down the hill. And that's a nice piece of timing this time from Georgie Boyce. That is a very, very expensive over, and I think you're right, Melissa. I don't think we'll see another one from her for a while.
No, you can see Anya Shrubsole now has just taken off her hat, so maybe a sign that she's ready to have the ball in hand. But we spoke when we heard the news of the toss saying, interesting that Thunder potentially choosing to bat first. Often you see, and this is nothing against Thunder as a team, but when teams tend to play the Vipers, who have a bit of a reputation for being quite strong, they do tend to want to put the Vipers in, have a bowl first, and then set themselves the target. But Thunder have been confident here with the toss. They saw this wicket, they saw these beautiful conditions and went, hang on here, we're setting this target.
I think that's a good point, and it does look a good wicket, doesn't it? It looks white from here, and as we said, it's a beautiful afternoon. It looks a good day for batting here, that's for sure. We've got some Anya Shrubsole by the looks of this.
Anya Shrubsole swapping with Freya Kemp at the Cromwell Road end, bowling to Lamb, and that's back of a length to just push back to her for no run for the first ball.
Announced her international retirement back in April. Over 170 internationals for England. That is some going.
And what a gain for the Vipers to sign her as a player coach, of course. So whether she'll be looking to play for maybe 1-2 more years and then just slowly almost work alongside Charlotte Edwards, who is renowned for her coaching around the country. As Shrubsole in, cut through the air and through the fielders in the ring. That's 4 runs again to Emma Lamb. She moves on to 15 off 14 balls, and that delivery just perfectly dissected the fielder Lauren Bell, short third man, and Charlie Dean at backward point.
There's width on that one as well, isn't there, Melissa? That's the trouble there. I mean, Shrubsole wouldn't have bowled at all since the tour down under, I wouldn't have thought. So maybe she's a little bit rusty.
Just a few skips there at the top of her mark, and Shrubsole past the umpire, full of ball, and just flicked off the legs by Lamb to the fielder at mid-wicket for no run.
You've got to be accurate on this pitch at the moment. That's for sure. In fact, that was whipped to mid-wicket off just outside off stump.
I mean, obviously there's been such a lack of rain at the moment as well, that this outfield is quick, and if it's not going to a fielder or it's not going to a boundary sweeper, then it's 4 runs. As Shrubsole in and down the wicket advances Lamb and slashes this through the offside for another 4. That delivery from Shrubsole, a bit short, a bit wide, and Emma Lamb puts it away with ease. She moves on to 19 now.
It's width again, isn't it? That's well wide of off stump there. We quite often see this in men's matches here. Because of the lack of bounce, the batters could hit through the ball on the top of the bounce much easier. So any width here is good night.
Shrubsole then looking for a reply to Emma Lamb. She bowls and it's a leg stump line flicked away to the deep square leg fielder. They're looking for a 2 there, the Thunder batters, but settled for a 1, bringing Georgie Boyce back on strike.
Well, they've got momentum now, haven't they, Thunder? Last couple of overs. Wow, what a change from the first couple. First over went for 3, the second one for 5, and then Lauren Bell's second over went for 17 all told, and now there's more runs here.
Just a slight change in the field there for Georgie Boyce as fine leg brought in the ring and third man pushed out to the boundary, and she's on the back foot pushing to mid-off for no run. And that completes the over. Thunder 31 for none after 3 overs. Well, if they keep going at this rate, then they're going to be racking up a lovely total here at Hove.
It is a good wicket to bat on here, I have to say. It's I say that lack of bounce, and it really does allow the batters just to hit through the ball, and you really cannot afford to bowl with any width. It's hard enough for pace bowlers here bowling straight, but with any width, it is doubly difficult. Now, not surprisingly, Lauren Bell is taking a break. 2 overs, none for 20. And Freya Kemp, the 17-year-old, whose first over went for 3, is now switching to up the hill. She's going to be bowling to Emma Lamb. It's short outside the off stump, and that's guided, and that's half stop at backward point. That's safe 4. But a lovely sort of just flowing shot there from Lamb, just opening the face of the bat, looking for the gap. And it took a wonderful piece of fielding there to stop that going for the boundary.
Charlie Dean, the whiz fielder there at backward point. Of course, sometimes Danny Wyatt, when she's in the squad, she always stakes her claim at that position there. But Charlie is a player who loves to throw herself around in the outfield.
Ken bowls left arm over, and that's driven through extra cover. That'll be 4. That's Georgie Boyce this time, who moves into double figures with that boundary, and runs coming rather easily here for Thunder.
This crowd here at Hove today being treated to a flurry of boundaries to begin this innings. I mean, you always know there'll be a few in the power play, of course, with only 2 fielders allowed outside the ring, but actually they've been coming thick and fast here.
Yeah, once it finds the gap, the ball, it keeps going. 36 without loss then, Thunder. Here's Freya Kemp, left arm over, bowls. That's balled away in the air. It's going to be short of Schofield, or is it? No, he's in, and she's got it. And there's the first wicket down. Mistake there from Boyce. Just helped it away on the leg side, but got underneath it. The ball hung in the air, and Schofield ran in from deep per square leg. Takes, in the end, quite a simple catch. Boyce goes for 10, Thunder 36 for 1.
Yeah, you just feel as if the ball probably got a bit higher on Boyce there than she thought it would. Perhaps just one of those shots where she probably should have rolled her wrists a bit, controlled it along the ground, and then it probably would have been 4 runs in front of square. But just looking to play that big shot a bit too early on in the innings, especially when Thunder already had runs on the board. But Vipers will be very, very relieved to get that first breakthrough. Georgie Boyce can be dangerous the longer she's at the crease.
So, a first wicket in Vipers' colours for the 17-year-old Freya Kemp. That'll settle her down somewhat, although, to be honest, looking at her out there, she doesn't look as though she needs too much settling down. It's bowled quite nicely in the over and a bit that she's bowled to date. The other games going on in the Charlotte Edwards Trophy today in this same group. Lightning taking on the Northern Diamonds. The Diamonds have started well there, 44 without loss in the 4th. And in the other group, Sunrisers 22 without loss in the 5th against the South East Stars, who are the defending champions. And Western Storm taking on Central Sparks. Central Sparks 16 for 2 in the 3rd in that game as well. The new batter is Danielle Collins for the Thunder. Left-hander, 21 years of age.
So I've played with Collins quite a few times because we're in and around the same age group, and she went out with the Thunder to Dubai, I think, for their pre-season matches, and scored quite a few handy runs there at the top of the order, a few 30s, a few 40s.
Left-hander to left-hander here as Collins works that length delivery out square on the leg side. Another one of the Lancashire T20 county winning squad as well at the start of the season.
Yeah, she's really found kind of the way she plays, I think, in those age group kind of stages. She wasn't quite sure where she fit in or the pace to be going at now, but she's really cemented 3 or 4 really strong shots here, which I'm sure we'll see brought out the bag today by Danny Collins.
Full delivery, which is worked again to square leg, and there is no run. She had 5 innings in this competition last year. Struggled really to make an impact, actually. Top score of 16 in that.
Again, 21 years old, as I said, not quite found her footing yet in the squad, but hopefully if this pre-season is anything to go by, then she'll have quite a good season coming up for them. It's just about finding almost your rhythm, especially in the T20 game, and where your scoring areas are.
Here's Kemp again. It's a length ball, and that's a nice drive on the up, and she's just about found the gap, and that's rolling down the hill, but Schofield will get there just in time. Picks it up. Raya Boucher was behind her, just in case it was flicked back, but it wasn't. And that's a couple of runs there for Collins to get off the mark. 38 for 1 after 5 overs. So just 7 runs off that, but crucially for the Vipers, a wicket. We've just slowed the scoring rate down a fraction in that over.
And good to see this crowd here just starting to fill up today. It's glorious weather down in Brighton, of course, so close to the seafront here. And a few Vipers fans have showed up wearing their bright orange T-shirts, ready to watch some more Vipers' success, hopefully. As we mentioned, they made it to finals day last year, but just missed out in that first semi-final as Shrubsole then to Lamb, who's just dropping that into the leg side. This must be a quick single as Maya Boucher has a shot at the stumps, and it looks close here from the reaction of the fielders and the umpire in that sense that that was a bit of a risky single to be taken early on. I think she thought she'd perhaps dropped the ball a bit squarer than she actually had, but actually it just went to that right hand of Boucher there, who we've spoken about so often. Georgia Elwit at extra cover and Boucher at mid-wicket almost just seemed to close in on you as a batter out in the middle, as Shrubsole to Collins, who flicks that down the leg side. Did she get bat on that? It bounces just before Carla Rudd behind the stumps. Not sure whether that was a bit of thigh pad, a bit of bat. The replay looking like a bit of bat.
Good stop from Carla Rudd. Kept low.
So of course coming now. It's over. I always get confused with it. Is she coming over or around?
Shrubsole?
Yeah.
She's over.
Over to Collins then, as that's driven into the offside for no run. I can't seem to get my head around it. I was being explained this at the Aegeus Bowl the other day about over is what you conventionally do as a bowler, but around is when you switch it up. But as soon as you put a left-hander in the equation, it messes me up.
Is it something you ate at lunch?
Maybe it's the heat streaming through these windows here. That would be a poor excuse. We're actually very well shaded. As Shrubsole running in to Collins, who's struck on the pads, maybe a bit of inside edge here, and groans from the Vipers fielders. They just sense that they're just starting to reclaim a bit of control here. You feel as if Vipers almost need one boundaryless over, and then it would just start to build up their confidence again.
Well, it's much tighter over from Manuel Shrubsole as well, isn't it? It looked very much like a loosener as first over. It went for 9. This one's much better. Only 1 conceded so far off 4 deliveries.
To the left-handed Collins then, who flicks this down to fine leg straight to Lauren Bell inside the ring, but they get through for another single. This is good running here from the Thunder. Emma Lamb just calling her partner through there as it went behind the stumps. Score moves on to 40 for 1 even.
It's been a good power play though, isn't it, for the Thunder, coming towards the end of it now.
I mean, that's just one of the things really that we've seen across the country in women's domestic setups, which has really improved over these last few years, is being attacking in the power play, being prepared to take those risks when those only 2 fielders are out on the boundaries. Shrubsole to Lamb, and she's driving to mid-on for no run. So I'm sure we can expect some more big scores across this competition as that over finishes from Shrubsole, her second over.
Yeah.
How many runs off that one?
That's 40, so 2 runs came off that. Much better over from the former England pace bowler. 22 for Emma Lamb from 20. And Danielle Collins has 3 from 7. I mentioned earlier that the Vipers only made it as far as the first eliminator, the first semi-final at the Ageas Bowl last year. That's where the finals were held. Thunder came 3rd in their group behind the Northern Diamonds and Western Storm last year. Of course, last year was the first year of this competition. Georgia Elwis with her right-arm medium pacers comes into the attack. Looks like Freya Kemp is just going to be bowling 1 over spells. Here she is with the keeper standing up the hill. It's down the leg side. It's half taken by Rudd as Collins tried to swing that away on the leg side. A bit of ugly cricket all round, really. And I think at the end of that, there's a wide, but they've run a wide as well. So, a bit of a loosener there from Georgia Elwis.
I think that's probably a similar picture which happened across the UK as all the leagues and club cricket started last week. I'd probably bet about 20% of matches started with a ball similar to that one.
I'm sure they did. Comes in again. He's got the right-hander this time to bowl 2, and Lamb's trying to work that away on the gap on the leg side, and I think that might have just gone into a pad as it did so. It goes back to the bowler, and there is no run. 42 for 1, the score remains.
She's just got to be a little bit careful here, Lamb. We've spoken about how low it bounces here at this pitch, and you don't want to be playing too many cross-bat shots early on. And she's just looking to work. A few too many deliveries from outside the off-stump into the leg side at the moment.
Yeah, that's one thing you do have to be careful with there. She hurts that away with almost a slog sweep as it goes quickly out to Boucher, who's at deep mid-wicket. There is a single on that leg side all day long, with 3 of the Vipers fielders patrolling that boundary away to our right. That's what Amalam is looking for, isn't it, as Melissa was saying. That was hit a little bit more forcefully. She's moved on to 23. She's at the non-striker's end. Here's Georgia Elwis once more. 30 years of age now, Georgia Elwis, and that's hit in the air but safe as it's over the infield. There'll be a few bounces as it makes its way out, trickles its way even to Paige Schofield out in the deep once more, and another single to the Thunder, which takes them on to 44 for 1. We're in the 7th over. Remember, it's 20 overs per side in this Charlotte Edwards Cup, which is in its 2nd year. South East Stars, the defending champions. Elwis comes in again. Carla Rudd is still standing up to the wicket, and she's bowled. She's gone for 1 heave on the leg side too many. She did it a couple of balls ago, and this time Elwis has claimed her wickets, just clatters into the stumps, and Emma Lamb goes for 23, playing all across the line. 44 for 2.
Lamb will not be wanting to re-watch that one on the replay. As you say, an ugly hoik across the line, and exactly what the Vipers were really building up. They pushed those fielders out there on the leg side, tempting her, because the most she was going to get was a single. So actually really clever cricket from the Vipers. In fact, Lamb and that delivery, that could have been driven through the covers. There was no one back on the boundary, on the offside, but a disappointing way to go. And suddenly, after that quite expensive power play for the Vipers, you feel as if things are just edging back to being in the balance.
I'm just wondering if she might have got a slight bottom edge onto that as well, actually. I'm just watching the replay. You can see the live feed, the live picture feed. If you go on the Sussex Cricket website, go to fixtures and the match centre and click down to this picture, and you'll see that as well. If you've been watching that and you're on the replay, I think you may just have detected a slight bottom edge as that clattered into the stumps. If it was only a very small one. I'm
not sure whether it actually bottom edged onto her own pads and then went over, which is even more unfortunate.
A little bit unlucky then. Here's the captain then, Ellie Threcold, into the middle, and she's immediately playing a missing outside the off stump. Got handed the captaincy after Alex Hartley passed it on. My extra responsibility for the 23-year-old.
I mean, she gave an interview saying about how she's almost always wanted this role.
Well, she's got it now as Elwis bowls. A little quicker this time, and that's neatly turned down to a fine leg. I think that's what Elwis is doing, actually. She's just varying her pace a little bit, which is clever bowling. That's a single. End of the over. 44 for 2 after 7.
And in this interview with Scott Mills, actually, Scott Mills?
Radio 1 DJ.
No, it's not Scott Mills. Scott Reed.
Scott Reed.
Scott Mills. It'd be fantastic if it was Scott Mills.
I don't think Scott Reed's a Radio 1 DJ, but
no,
anyway,
you never know. It could be a secret persona. But she was saying how she's always kind of looked towards working towards this role. And of course, when Alex Hartley stepped down and Ellie Threcold went out to captain with the Lancashire women's side and the Thunder out in Dubai, then that's when she really got a spark for the job. And when I can do this now, I'm ready for this role. And although she's only 23 years of age, she's got a vast amount of experience. She's been playing in these setups for years and years. And so this will just be the challenge she's looking for, as England's Charlie Dean is being brought into the attack. And what a winter it has been for Charlie Dean.
I think she was recognised as being one of the few sort of success stories for a winter that didn't quite go for the women as much as they would have liked it to have gone.
Here she is then. She's bowling to the captain Threcold, who's driving back to Charlie Dean. First ball for no run. I mean, 100%. She came in and almost cemented herself in that side across the Ashes and across the tournament. She started as a maybe we should include her, maybe we shouldn't, but by the end she was one of those key bowlers for England. So that's a quicker ball and driven back to her and her outstretched left hand.
I mean, from right at the back end of last season, she's now got 13 one-day internationals to her name. Amazing.
Dean to Threcold, and that's floated up and down the wicket as Threcold and driving into the offside for another single. Thunder move on to 46 for 2.
She played in the Ashes Test as well, didn't she? The one that makes up that multi-format Ashes series.
And she really complimented the likes of Sophie Eccleston, who of course normally would be playing for the Thunder. She's out playing in the fair break competition as well, alongside Tara Norris and Danny Wyatt, who are names who we expect to see arrive later in this competition. But it's good that England have those spin options they can go to. But Charlie Dean making a name for herself in blue as a slight change to the field here as Dean bowls to the left-handed Collins, who's sweeping and missed time. So that ball actually called a wide in the end. I thought that had taken a bit of Collins' pad, but
yeah, just watching the live feed, it's I think it's made just a flick more Carla Rudd, I think.
Got a deep long off here, Dean. 2 fielders on the leg side as well, and that's a straighter ball, just defended by Collins into the offside. And Shrubsole fields for no run, so deep cover, deep square leg, that deep mid-wicket, and as I mentioned, that long off fielder, so she's protected on all sides here, and this power play just giving Dean a bit of freedom to change up her pace, and that's driven down the ground past the outstretched hand of Dean, and they scamper through for a single, bringing Threcold back on strike.
Well, apart from those couple of really good overs, weren't they? Overs 3 and 4 for Thunder, it does feel as though there's a little bit more. Well, they've got things a bit more under control, the Vipers, haven't they?
This run rate graph I'm looking at has just started to sink a little bit as Dean in to the Thunder captain, who works this away on the leg side. They're looking busy at the crease here, but again, just kept to a single. These are quite reasonably sized boundaries, you'd say here, but because of how quick this outfield is, it almost feels already like it's a bit of a 1 or 4 game, unless the Thunder batters can find a gap where it's possible to run a 2. But that completes Charlie Dean's first over. The Thunder 49 for 2.
5 runs off it. Yeah, Georgie Boyce for 10 and Emma Lamb for 23, the 2 batters that have departed already for the Thunder. The bowling figures so far: Lauren Bell, 2 overs, none for 20. Bit of a mixed bag from the tall seamers, 4 wides and 1 no ball included in that as well. Freya Kemp, the young 17-year-old, making her debut, 2 overs, 1 for 9. Anya Shrubsole, ex-England player, 2 overs, none for 11. That's not bad. The first over went for 9, looked a bit rusty, certainly tightened up on the second one. And Georgia Elwes, good first over from her, 1 for 5. And Charlie Dean, I think, has conceded 4 off 1 over. My computer might be just slowly behind. Paige Schofield with her right-arm medium pacers is coming in now, and that's worked on the leg side by Threlcold, and a good piece of fielding at mid-wicket by Maya Boucher.
They're really reckoning the changes here, the Southern Vipers. I mean, looking at their squad list, and in terms of bowling options, I'm trying to think how many I could name.
There's a few, but are you surprised Elwes is off after 1 over?
A little bit.
Here's Schofield again. I mean, very similar type bowlers. All she's playing, missing outside the off stump there, Threlcold. Trying to drive on the up.
I think that is the thing, Schofield and Elwes, both of them like to use their variations. They like to change up the pace, and actually I'm not sure they mind too much about being thrown those 1 over spells. They don't really need time to settle too much and get into their work, because they're so experienced in their craft.
Yeah, Ellie Threlcold to face the next delivery. As Paige Schofield comes in, slightly slower ball, and that's driven off an open face through to backward point, and that's Lauren Bell, does a good piece of fielding there, keeps it down to a single. Total moves on to 50 for 2 then, Thunder. That 50 has come up in the 9th. So, as I say, apart from those 2 sort of overs around 3 and 4, which Thunder threatened to really get a motor on there, and the bowling was a little wayward, things have become a bit more manageable again. Here's Schofield, who's round the wicket this time to the left-hander Danielle Collins, who works that away on the leg side behind square. Runs the first one quickly. They may look for 2 here. She turns blind, Collins, so doesn't really get a chance to get a look. If there was 2, I don't think there would have been, to be fair.
No, the fielder in the deep there just got to that one a bit too quickly. But as you said, interesting. I'm not sure whether she got a bit scrambled alongside Paige Schofield there, but she turned around with her back completely to the ball, almost started running, and you were going, no, what are you doing?
I don't think Craig White would like that. That's outside the off stump. That may be a wide. No, it isn't. And I tell you what, Ellie Threlkeld thought that might be. That's why she didn't throw a bat at it. She looks a little bit disappointed that the umpire hasn't put her arms out.
Looking at bowling options in this Vipers squad, in fact, I think every single player in this team can bowl, of course, minus Carla Rudd, who's wicket-keeping.
Of course. Although she could in theory, I suppose. That's driven on the up. 1 bounce out to extra cover, and they're taking a run, a diving at the far end from, I think that's Collins, isn't it? Diving at the far end. But she's home. Interesting shot in the first place, actually, and then actually to go and run as well. Well, okay, they got away with it. 52 for 2, that's 9 gone.
Yeah, you almost don't want to start off your captaincy with your team by running out the number 3 batter.
No. I just think I think Thunder, they will think, well, do you know what? The runs haven't dried up, but they're, it's not going along as well as it was. And I think sometimes you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute. Runs looked easy to come by a little while ago, so why are they not? So you tend to then, there's a couple of dot balls, don't you? You tend to think, well, you need to start running it.
It's pace off the ball, I think, is the key thing, and a trend we see so often across the women's game as Dean continues to freckle, who advances down the wicket but actually changes her mind and dabs the ball down to that short third man region where Ellen McCacken fields. They get through for a single, because we saw there's almost this trend of those faster bowlers coming on, and yes, they get wickets, yes, they scare the batters a little bit, but actually they can be quite expensive because there is that pace on the ball. But as soon as these spinners come in and medium paces, as that's swept fine by Collins again for another single off Dean, they take. That moves the score on to 53 for 2. So, and when, of course, the spinners come on, the medium paces come on, you do tend to see that run rate just drop a little bit, because suddenly the batters are just having to put a little bit more oomph into each shot. And I think that aerial shot in the last over was illustrative of that, as that ball's worked by Threckald into the leg side. Again, being busy at the crease here, these 2 Thunder batters. They get through for another single.
It's so like the men's games here, when the spinners come on and the game changes. It really does. It's so much harder to hit the spinners because there's so little bounce.
Dean to Collins, and that's an inside edge off her bat, which is running now towards us at the C end, and it's 4 runs. The thinnest of edges. A floated up delivery from Charlie Dean, and it looked to be played on the leg side, but somehow slipped through between her bat and her body, but also didn't hit the stumps.
Lucky shot.
Now, when your wagon wheel comes up with that shot going for 4, that's when you say it was a ramp. For anyone who is not watching the game, you say it was a ramp. As Dean in again, that's a slow delivery deep on the front foot as Collins pushing back to the bowler for no run. 1 ball remaining in this over, and 7 runs off it so far, with relatively little risk taken by the Thunder batters, as advances down the wicket and bowled. Charlie Dean takes her first wicket. Danny Collins there looking to go big over the bowler's head, completely misses that ball from Charlie Dean. A quicker delivery, and that's a 3rd wicket to fall for the Thunder. They're 53 for 3 now. And Danny Collins, 11 runs off 15 balls, never quite got going there. And perhaps not the shot you want to be playing on the final ball of the over. You've already got 7 runs off the over. You're ticking along nicely with your captain at the other end, and you've just tried to hoik the ball over the brand new England spinner's head.
It was a bit of a mow, wasn't it? Let's be fair. I think it was a little bit of premeditation there. Just clipped the leg stump as it got through that shot across the line there from Collins. A couple of messages here. Franklin Sanderson at Solent Sport on the tweets, if you want to get in touch with us. Good afternoon, says Franklin, to both of you. I'm listening to the game in the sunshine. That's from East Meon. Franklin, nice part of the world, East Meon. And Jack Rawl says, if you can't get to Hove to watch the game, then what's better than watching on a big screen? There was a good start from Emma Lamb, yes there was, and loving the commentary from Melissa and Kenny. I think it's very kind of you, Jack. solentcricket@gmail.com as well on the emails, if it's easier for you to get a message to us that way as well. So we've got Sachi Pai is the new batter for the Thunder. And this is the first delivery there from Freya Kemp, and that's driven out nicely by Threlkeld out into the deep. And that'll be a single, and that will be Pai on strike, who has been playing for Lightning for the last 2 seasons. In fact, played against Hampshire last year for Lightning, but she's back. And she's been playing for Lancashire as well. In fact, she played for the Northern Representative 11 in the early season inter-county T20 competition.
This elusive Lancashire second 11, which has been befuddling us.
Here's Kemp then, and bowls left arm over, it's full. That's a nice drive up to mid-off. That's a lovely piece of timing first up from Pai.
This is the danger with batting first against the Vipers, and we spoke that yes, this is a good pitch, it seems to have gone well for Thunder, but they do almost surround you like you are in a pit of snakes. As soon as one wicket falls, then there seems to be another snake pop up, and then another wicket falls and another one pops up, and before you know it, you're doing an I'm a Celebrity challenge. Low
full toss, which is driven to mid-off, Shrubsole fields and throws at the bowler's end but misses, and Pai is off strike. She's got a single from the second ball she's faced.
There's also no almost respite for anyone out there, because as soon as one bowler comes off, then another one's confronting you, and unless of course Georgia Adams, the captain, maybe puts herself onto bowl, which she does often do towards the end of the innings to take pace off, then you've got some strong bowlers coming at you.
Certainly. Here's Kemp again. That's a slower ball. That's very well disguised. In fact, so well disguised, Carla Rudd couldn't pick it up cleanly. It bounced in front of her at the second bounce. That's out the back of the hand there from Freya Kemp. That's a very impressive delivery to bowl, and bowl it accurately as well. And Threlkeld was completely outdone by the lack of pace.
I feel like a similarity can be drawn between Freya Camp and Tamal Mills here, because again, both two really, really fast left-handers who have that incredible back-of-the-hand slower ball, which completely deceives all batters at the crease.
It certainly does. Kemp bowls to Pai. She's playing a missing. No, she hasn't. She's edged it. She started to walk off, waiting for the umpire's finger to go up, which it did. And Pai goes third ball for 1. And Kemp has picked up another wicket here. 62 for 3 now, the Thunder in the 11th over.
Kemp already making such an impact here in this Vipers innings, and you can tell why there's been so much talk about her and what she brings to this team. She doesn't seem afraid to bowl those variations, and actually the setup of that wicket ball, first with that slower ball, just puts that almost thought in the back of the batter's head of going, oh my gosh, is this next ball going to be a slower ball? Is it going to be a faster ball? Is it going to be a bouncer? Because of course she's got that in her locker as well, which we've only seen brought out once, and picked up that early wicket of Georgie Boyce. So she really does bring it all to the crease here, and Thunder 62 for 4, looking in a bit of trouble.
They are. Now, here's another England batter, all-rounder actually, for Thunder, in the form of Kate Cross.
Now, she will love the fact you've called her an all-rounder.
Which is she not really?
Well, I think she is. But there's, of course, Kate Cross and Alex Hartley have their podcast, the No Balls podcast, on the BBC. And, of course, she, I think, started as a number 11, but has been slowly moving up for England across the winter and actually batted 8 for them in the winter once.
Right.
I think she's a very accomplished batter. She scored, of course, in the one time before these two teams have faced last year. Of course, it was in the 50-over Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy at Sale, where the Thunder slipped to 59 for 6. But, of course, Kate Cross came in and hit 57.
Yeah, that's why I think she's a batter. Kemp bowls, and that's a length ball which crosses in nicely behind, and that's pushed up to Anya Shrubsole at mid-off. Quite an impressive debut already for the 17-year-old, who gets a warm round of applause. A half-decent crowd on a Saturday afternoon here at Hove for this Women's Charlotte Edwards Cup match. And the Thunder, having won the toss, elected to bat first. Are 62 for 4, 11 gone, 9-2.
Kate Cross will be looking to see if she can replicate that innings against the Vipers at Sale, of course. And the captain at the other end, Ellie Threckle, they're going to need these two just to build some kind of partnership here. You feel as if at 62 for 4 now, 11 overs gone. They need to push towards that 120 mark to have any kind of chance. And then, of course, bowl very, very well in the second innings, because not only do the Vipers have a strong bowling lineup, but their batting just is absolutely relentless. And it looks like we're going to see some of the leg spin of Nancy Harmon, who Sussex, I mean, she's been all over the place, really. I've played against her when she used to play for Sussex, but she's been to many places since then. But she will be bowling to Threckle. That's a flighted delivery first off, and a big appeal from the bowlers for an LBW. Umpire shakes his head.
Yeah, another one of the successful Sussex T20 side early season in their regional competition, which included Kent, Surrey and Hampshire.
On her debut here today is Harmon. That's freckled in. That's a low full toss and hit straight to Shrubsole at mid-wicket for no run.
She's another one that played for Lightning against the Vipers last year at Arundel.
Lightning, that team. They're the team who takes all the lone players, maybe. There's Harmon in. That's shorter, but spins a lot, and it's cut on the up by Threckle to Freya Kemp on the deep cover boundary for a single. There was a lot of turn there.
There was a
very
bit, wasn't it?
Early on, and a few of the Thunder spinners will just be looking at that and going, okay, we've got something to work with here. A bit of spin and actually a bit of bounce off that last delivery, which is something we haven't seen from the seamers. Kate Cross here just taking a few steps down the wicket, tapping her bat just to get an assessment of the pitch in front of her as Harmon's in, and that's shorter and pushed off the back foot by Cross to Kemp for another single. That's a flat throw in from the deep there, Kemp, looking to bounce this white ball on a few of those not used wickets, because you can't really say used when it's May, but across the square. As Harmon bowls again, that flighted leg spin delivery pushed down to mid-on for another single. Ticking along these two, they'll know what they've got to do. Two experienced players at the crease, and I think at this point Thunder going, right, at 65 for 4, 12 overs after this delivery gone, as Harmon skips in, and that's a flatter delivery and just push back to her. It's just to have a dramatic dive there, but keeps it down to a dot. Thunder 65 for 4, so they'll know that they can just work with singles for these next few overs, but when it hits the 15 over mark, you've almost got to go for it a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a setback. 44 for 1 at one stage in the 7th. That's when Emma Lamb went. But good first over there from Harmon. Just 3 runs off it. So a good debut over in Vipers colours for the 23-year-old. As we've got another bowling change. It's going to be Georgia Elwith. Elwith's back into the attack with 1 over for 5. She picked up that wicket of Emma Lamb, who was hoiking a good length delivery across the line when she was bowled for 23. Again, we see that field on the leg side of the Vipers where there is an easy single. That's where Emma Lamb was caught out, really, wasn't she? Trying to work it on the leg side, playing across the line. 3 Vipers fielders out in the deep, 1 on the 45 saving a single behind square third. That's full, and that's worked out on the leg side. That'll be a single. Boucher comes in quickly from deep mid-wicket, and it's 66 for 4 at the start of the 13th. I think the Vipers will be fairly happy now, Melissa.
Absolutely. This will be perhaps the best kind of halfway point they could imagine, especially after losing the toss and being put into bowl first. It'll be interesting to know Georgia Adams' thoughts after this game of what she wanted to do, but it's working well for them now.
So as Elwes comes in and bowls, that's a length ball which Threlcold pushes up towards extra cover. I feel that Ellie Threlcold hasn't faced too much of the bowling in the last 2 or 3 overs. She has faced 20 deliveries now for her 11. But it seems to have been Pye using up 2 or 3 balls, and then Kate Cross has used 4. Daniel Collins was Facing a few before she perished. That's driven out nicely by Threlcold up to deep mid on. There's Captain Georgia Adams doing the fielding.
I do think that Threcold, probably, of course, you've got the kind of ranking of keepers in the country for the England women. Amy Jones, top dog at the moment, but I would say Ellie Freckle's probably second in my ranking. The only thing letting her down is probably her strike rate batting.
Threlcold drives or tries to. It's a bit too close to her as it goes back out on the offside, no run.
And to get into this highly competitive England side at the moment, and especially to usurp Amy Jones, then I feel like she's going to have to work this season about scoring these runs, just keeping up with that strike rate of a minimum of 100 really in this T20 competition. But so far it's been something she's struggled to do for the Thunder.
There's Elwes again. It's worked nicely on the leg side from straight by Threlcold, who runs the first run quickly, but Paige Schofield is in equally as quick from the deep square leg boundary and keeps it down to just one. You're right. I mean, the hardest thing in T20 cricket is to keep the scoreboard ticking along. That's so hard to do, isn't it? You often see a couple of dot balls and then somebody wants to hit the boundary or something, and it's to try and keep it to at least a run a ball is never quite easy. Dot balls just create pressure for the batters as that's worked on the offside, but no gap there from Kate Cross. That's the end of the over. Elwes is doing a good job really. 2 overs from her have cost 8.
I mean, she's been really sticking to her plans here. We've spoken about how she's got 3 fielders on the leg side, and at this point the Vipers have recognised that it's fine if the Thunder batters take a single, because that's the most they're going to get on this leg side. But actually, not only is it just giving them a single and blocking off the boundary, but it's making them play across the line. And as we saw with that Emma Lamb dismissal, that slightly messy hoik, that got the wicket, and it's also proving to be economical as well for Elwes. And it's one of those tactics which you practice at training where they say, look, now you're going to bowl, you're going to attack the stumps. You've got 3 fielders out there as Charlie Dean continues, and that's batted away by Threcold to Ellen McCacken at backward point. They have to run quick here between the stumps, and they make it just in time. Very quick throw from Ellen McCacken. So yeah, you get these scenarios and presented with them, and that is one of the most common ones in T20. You'll hear from coaches is, yeah, we're just going to completely block up the leg side, just bowl as straight as you can and that wicket will come, whether it's bowled, LBW or caught out in the deep. As Dean to Cross advances down the wicket, it's driven in the air and just to the right of the fielder, extra cover. A good stop from the captain Georgia Adams at mid-off, keeps it down to a single.
You can see what she was trying to do, just didn't quite get it out the middle of the bat.
Yeah, I think a few people in the crowd would have known if Cross had got it out the middle of the bat. As Dean in again, that's shorter, flatter, and Threcold there trying to push that away to the square leg boundary, but signalled wide in the end by the umpire.
Just missed the pad, not by very much though.
With batters here, just looking potentially to accelerate this run scoring. As down again is Threcold, pushing down the ground. They run hard, but straight to the protection in the deep there for Charlie Dean. Restricts it to a single, 72 for 4.
What Vipers have done well is they've cut out the boundary. And we saw in the power play, I know it's difficult when you've only got 2 players out deep, but the boundaries have dried up a bit.
Dean to Cross, and that's an attempted sweep and goes through to Carla Rudd behind the stumps. I'm not sure what that missed in the end, but it looked tight.
A bit too full to be playing that shot, I think.
Yes, especially on this pitch. We've spoken about the bounce. If you're going to want to play the sweep when it's not really bouncing, you've got to get really far forward as Cross takes a couple steps down the pitch and drives that into the covers for another single. Georgia Elwes there at extra cover, executing a good dive. And there's been some good fielding from the Southern Vipers so far. They haven't put down any chances, and their ground fielding is next to nothing in this competition, of course, under the coaching of Charlotte Edwards, who loves her team to be fielding well. Fielding wins matches, as that ball's worked away to Anya Shrubsole at mid-wicket. Again, it builds up that pressure when the run scoring's already low. If you just get tighter and tighter in that field, then suddenly, as a batter in the middle, it feels like you're suffocating. And that concludes Charlie Dean's 3rd over?
I think it is, yeah. Conceded 5 off that one. And 15 she's gone 4-16, I think. Other games going on in the Charlotte Edwards Cup this afternoon. The other game in this group, Lightning against Northern Diamonds. Northern Diamonds going along very nicely indeed. 117 for 1 in the 13th. Winfield Hill with 74 not out there. And in the other group, the defending champions the South East Stars are taking on the Sunrisers. Sunrisers are 81 for 2 in the 14th. And Central Sparks 76 for 2 in the after 11 against the Western Storm. It looks like Lauren Bell is back for the Vipers. Bit of a mixed bag from her. Started well in the first 2 or 3 deliveries, and then we had a couple of wides in there and a ball and a couple of boundaries as well. So, in fact, 3 boundaries in total. So 2 overs, none for 20. She's trying her luck for the second time up the hill. 73 for 4, 14 gone, 6 to do. And she's bowling to Kate Cross. Right arm over, Cross drives, gets a bottom hand into that one, and a bit of a thick inside edge as the ball trickles out towards mid-wicket, and that'll be a single. Cross moves on to 5, 74 for 4.
I just wonder whether the Thunder batters have had a discussion prior to this Lauren Bell over and gone, look, she's been the most expensive bowler so far, let's make this a big over for us. She's got pace on the ball, she's perhaps her head's down just a little bit from that earlier spell, so it'd be a good chance for them to attack.
Yeah, a bit of extra pace I think is key, isn't it? Just helps you hit through the ball a bit. Comes in and bowls, there's a drive down the ground, and that's through the fielder, and that's gone for 4. Well, there's your extra pace for you, and Ellie Threlkeld has benefited there, and that is a really good shot. And that is 4 runs. I think that was it Nancy Harmon there at mid-on, who couldn't quite get there in time, put in the big dive, and ball was always just the winner. 78 for 4 then. Don't forget several ways you can hear us and watch us. We're live on the BBC Sport website. Go to the cricket pages, look for the live action, and we're one of those. Also on the BBC Sport app as well. There's actually a short delivery outside the off stump, and is that a wide? No, would have been very close though. And we're out on the live picture feed as well. You can we've got our commentary on the live picture feed. If you just go to the Sussex cricket website, go to fixtures, click down the link to Match Centre for this fixture, and then you'll see the live pictures to go along with myself, Kevin James, and Melissa Story's commentary as we are coming towards the back end, the engine room end of the Thunder innings. Short, and again it's outside the off stump, and again Threlkeld, I'm not sure if she's picking it up or she thinks those are a wide outside off stump.
Both of those deliveries I think have just brushed the inside of that wide line, but it's interesting she hasn't just had a flash tip, because Lauren Bell's got her third man and point inside the ring. So actually the only protection she has on the offside is a deep cover. If Threlkeld just could get any sort of bat on that ball just to elevate it and get it over the field, then that would be an instant 4 runs. So at this point in the game, if I was her, I'd be going for those ones, having a slash.
Yeah, definitely. Here's Bell again. It's short, and she's pulled that away. It's in the air. Has it gone down to fine leg? Oh, that's taken. Don't tell me that's Freya Kemp again, is it? I think it might be. Up at the top end of the ground. You've got a top edge, that Threlkeld. It's well bowled from Lauren Bell. She bounced that in, got a bit of extra bounce. Threlkeld helped it away on the leg side, and the ball kept going off the top edge. And Freya Kemp has taken a really good catch there. Threlkeld goes for 18, and it's 78 now for 5 for Thunder.
Really interesting bowling from Lauren Bell as well, because those first 2 deliveries prior to that wicket, they were outside the off stump, they were shorter as well. In fact, she was probably lucky not to have them hit away by Threlkeld for 4, because she could have given herself a bit of room. But that third delivery, the wicket-taking delivery, was the perfect shorter ball. It just was right up at Threkeld's body. She had no choice but to play that ball. And actually, it's something we haven't really seen much from Lauren Bell across the year. So clearly something she's been developing across the winter, that shorter ball. And it's good to see her making the most of that height, of course. She's always been able to swing the ball. She's always been able to bowl those slower balls. But if she's now got a shorter pitch delivery in her armoury, then it's another dangerous thing for batters across the country.
It certainly is, and it's not something you see too much in the women's game. You know, a bowler that's able to bang it in short and actually create a different line of and a different mode of attack, such as that. So that's again something different that we see. Of course, I mustn't forget that if you live in the BBC Radio Sonnet transmission area, which is basically a little bit into Sussex, but not too much, but most of Hampshire, but not quite the north of Hampshire, all of the Isle of Wight, and most of Dorset, if not all of Dorset, then you can pick up this game on BBC Radio Sonant as well.
Gemma Green already attacking me on my messages.
She picked up on one of your sayings. Gemma Green does a bit of commentaries with us as well. As Bell bowls, it's a length ball, and that's a thick outside edge, and a drive there from the new batter, which is Laura Jackson, 24 years of age, been playing for Cumbria in the early season T20 inter-county tournament. So good over from Lauren Bell, 79 for 5, 6 runs off that, as well as that wicket, and we have 5 overs left of the Thunder innings here at Hove.
I've seen a few clips of Laura Jackson actually across the new Thunder's social media. They have of course we've seen how good Lancashire's live stream is across the men's county championship, but they have, I think it's called the Thunder Show or something like that, where they're doing previews into the women's domestic setup across this season. It's really good content to be seeing produced across these domestic setups. We're seeing a bit more sneaking out from the Vipers, of course, and it's good to see that same level of effort put into the women's game as Shrubsole bowling to Jackson, and that's Fuller, flicked away wristily by Jackson to square leg. Paige Schofield fields, and they get through for a single, and you hear the sounds of fielders going no two there. Don't think there's any twos anywhere.
No two. Couple of tweets here. Paul Williams is in Portugal. He says, I really like the look of Faye Kemp. Oh, it's Faye Kemp now, is it? Not Freya Kemp, it's Faye Kemp. And at Silent Sport, you can stay in touch with us. Neat, tidy, and bowls a very good length, says Paul. I have to say, she already looks impressive. 17 years old, making her debut. Looks like she's been playing for the Vipers for at least the last few years. Doesn't look out of place, one iota.
Shrubsole in again to Cross, who's working this down to fine leg. Nancy Harmon does the fielding, and another single taken, 81 for 5.
And Jack Balls at Silent Sport says, this isn't looking good right now for the Thunder, but cometh the hour and cometh Kate Cross to save the day. She's still there, 6 not out off 11. She's got a bit of work to do between now and the end of the Thunder innings.
Jackson on strike to Shrubsole, and it's Fuller again down the leg side, and work to do for Nancy Harmon at fine leg. Another single taken, and just ticking along this scoreboard here. The Thunder edging closer and closer to that 100 mark, but with this the 15th over, you'd feel 120 is achievable if they can get going, and more importantly if Kate Cross can get going, because she is capable of hitting those big boundaries, and 6 is needed as Shrubsole win, and that's a week across the line by Kate Cross, who advanced down the wicket just a little bit and tried to turn a ball which was perhaps an off-stump line into the leg side, rather unsuccessfully.
She's played a lot of internationals, Kate Cross, isn't she? 30 years of age now, so that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because that's the age that Shrubsole bowling now is retired.
As Shrubsole in she comes, and down on one knee is Cross, and she's been bowled. An unusual wicket there. I should just take, Kate Cross stepping there into the offside a bit too far, and Shrubsole finding the stumps. She wasn't looking too comfortable at the crease. Cross, she never really got going. And of course, the class of Anya Shrubsole, she knew exactly what to do. She's probably bowled at Kate Cross many, many times before in the nets. And the next wicket falls. Kate Cross gone for 6 off 13 balls. Just things slipping away from the Thunder here.
They are a bit, aren't they? Got away to a decent start, didn't they? 36 before Georgie Boyce was out in the 5th. And Emma Lamb made 23, 44 for 2. Danielle Collins, 11, 59 for 3. Sachi Pai out for 1, 62 for 4. Ellie Threlcold, 18, 78 for 5. And now 82 for 6 with the fall of that Kate Cross wicket. Wickets have fallen a bit too steadily, a bit too frequently for Thunder.
And going back to what you were saying about Kate Cross, and obviously 30 years old, still in that England setup, I think for her it was that she's almost come into her peak, in the peak of the Shrubsole Brunt era, as Shrubsole in again and just over the outstretched hand of Maya Bouchier at mid-wicket. This is racing away towards the boundary, and it will be 4 runs. Paige Schofield there, a diving stop, but to no avail. and that completes the over. Thunder 86 for 6. So she was in and around that setup, but of course it was so hard to, penetrate into that England squad and actually get there. And now that Shrubsole has retired, you almost feel as if Cross is eyeing up that opening slot. Can she open the bowling with Catherine Brunt, or actually is she happy as first change bowler? Does she have a role to do in those middle overs? She tends to be very economical, puts it on a spot and varies her lengths and speeds a lot, whilst maybe England may look more towards a Freya Davies sort to take the new ball alongside Catherine Brunt. Or Freya Kemp. I know she's only 17, let's just get her in the squad.
Well, I have to say, from what we've seen today, and I know it's a massive call, but I don't think it would be long. She does look something, doesn't she? Georgia Elwes then coming in up the hill and bowls. That's a slower ball outside the off stump, and that's immediately called a wide. Laura Jackson is facing. Phoebe Graham is the new batter. She hit that at the last ball of the previous over. Phoebe Graham, of course, formerly of the Northern Diamonds, who's made the move over the Pennines.
Absolute betrayal.
Of course, you're Yorkshire, aren't you? I forget. That's pushed out square on the offside. That'll be a single. Shrubsole picks it up one-handed, throws it at the bowler's end, but it's a comfortable single. Are you disappointed?
To be honest, I'll accept it. I'll allow it. I like Phoebe Graham, and I think it's been a good move for her, because actually the Diamonds have quite a few seam options over there in Yorkshire, whilst she should have a good role here for Thunder.
Hits that hard out into the covers, but there is a fielder deep. I think that might be Ella McCacken out there in front of the pavilion to our left. Way in the distance there, 89 for 6, and Phoebe Graham has hit 5 off 2 deliveries. Well, in fact, the 2 batters out there now, Laura Jackson and Phoebe Graham, picked up the last 2 pro contracts for Thunder. That's a nice drive, and that's a good extra cover stop there. I think that's Georgia Adams, the captain, out there. Did well, because actually there is some matting over a wicket there as well, and that's never easy when you're outfielding. The pros already in the Thunder side: Alex Hartley, Emma Lamb, Threlkeld, Hannah Jones, Georgie Boyce, already had pro contracts in their side. Elwes bowls, and that's worked on the 45 on the offside, but straight to Lauren Bell. They're looking for a single, but there isn't one. Laura Jackson on strike still.
Phoebe Graham as well has got a Manchester Originals contract for this year, so it feels as if this move's quite a permanent one over. Maybe she's had a move to Manchester or something.
Yeah, she was another one of the Lancashire side early season, winning the T20 group. There's a nice drive out towards deep mid-off. That should only be a single, as it's fielded by Charlie Dean. Away to our left down the hill here. That's where our commentary position is, down the hill, nearer the sea. Not near enough for our liking, but nearer than what they're playing on at the moment. 90 for 6.
Now this is the key question. Have we spotted an ice cream van yet?
Well, you were looking for one, weren't you?
It's perfect ice cream weather, and I haven't seen one yet.
No, I haven't seen one inside the ground, that's for sure. Elwes bowls, it's a slower ball, and it's driven on the up by Graham, again out to Dean at deep mid-off, who picks it up cleanly, and that'll go to the far end where it's caught by Carla Rudd, and that's the end of the over. 17 overs gone now here at Hove, and the Thunder are 91 for 6 with Laura Jackson on 5 and Phoebe Graham on 6. So 3 overs, 18 balls left, Melissa. You said about 120, didn't you? I think if these two can stay together, and I'm sure the thought in the Thunder dressing room will be, we might get a few more than that. Might.
I think ideally they would, but thinking about it, 3 overs left, they even need another 30 runs to get to 120. That's 10 runs and over. And what they'd want right now is pace on the ball, but the Vipers know that, and that's the last thing they're going to give them, with Charlie Dean bowling her final over to Phoebe Graham, and that's clipped up into the offside. That was a deceptive one. I thought that was going over the bowler's head, and then suddenly it just doubled out into the offside. So a dot ball to begin from Charlie Dean. She'll probably be looking just to use her feet here, Phoebe Graham, as we see the fielder at deep cover just brought in Freya Kemp there, and both mid-on and mid-off back on the boundary. Now it's a big hoik and an appeal, and it's gone. Not quite sure what it's gone for.
Caught behind.
There we go.
I I think she tried to heave across the line and just got a bottom edge on there.
Both the bails are still in place, so I'm gonna go with what you've said. So it's a good take from Carla Rudd, because those ones are always difficult, catching that most bottom edge of the bat, inside edge of the bat. But we saw her training before the game, doing a lot of wicket-keeping drills. Things not going to plan for the Thunder in these final 3 overs.
They just haven't really been able to build momentum, haven't they? That opening partnership of 36, the highest partnership of the innings, and wickets have just fallen steadily since then, haven't they, really? And they haven't really been able to put together, any sort of momentum after that opening partnership.
Absolutely, they're limping towards almost a total now of just over 100, maybe 110. Every wicket which falls is just that projected score going down and down. And proof more, though, that it's a great time to be an opener in the T20. They really do have the best of both worlds. They get to come in, they get pace on the ball, they get the power play, and all those runs to be scored. And it gets harder and harder as you come down the over, and suddenly you're presented with only a few deliveries left and a lot of runs needed as Dean to the new batter, who is Turner?
Sophia
Turner. And that first ball just caught the top edge of her bat and popped up into the offside, and falling just short of Ella McCacken at backward point.
Only 19, Sophia
in, and that's a flatter ball. Sophia in, Charlie Dean in, Sophia bats. It's all coming out in the wrong way. But that ball just snaking past her outside edge and through to Carla Rudd behind the stumps. It's a big ask here for Turner. As Dean in again, that's a much slower delivery and an ambitious drive from Turner outside the off stump, and the ball going past that outside edge again.
It's clever bowling, isn't it? That's just flighted a little bit. Cut the quicker balls, and then that one with pace off, even more pace off.
Final ball of the over then from Charlie Dean to Turner. That's a leg stump line, and it's an inside edge onto the pads, which is racing down towards third man, Ella McCacken Fields, and Thunder get through for a single. In the end, Turner will retain the strike this next over, and that's a 4 overs completed for Charlie Dean. Taking 2 wickets, the wickets of Phoebe Graham and Danny Collins, of course, earlier in this innings. Has it only conceded 17 runs?
17, yeah. Absolutely amazing, isn't it? I tell you what, we saw Charlie Dean right up until nearly the back end of last year, and then has played for England back end of last year, and then of course the winter tours and the World Cup and the Ashes and that. Now you see her bowl now, and all of a sudden now she just looks a totally different prospect, doesn't she? She's thinking about what she's bowling, different paces, almost thinking about how to get a batter out. It's very different from just bowling or trying to bowl accurately. There's a different mindset, and she's got that now, and that is because she's been playing for England. I mean, what a difference already. Freya Kemp, the teenage sensation for the Vipers, is in, left arm over and bowls, and that's a length ball which Sophia Turner works up to mid-off, fielded by Shrubsole, and there's no run. Well, the Vipers are really squeezing the Thunder here at the back end of their innings.
Teenage superstar. I feel like we're the founders of the Freya Kemp fan club here. Little does she know that by the end of this game there'll be millions worldwide following this teenage sensation.
Freya Kemp bowls, and that's another length ball which is worked up to extra cover this time. No real room there from Kemp. Nice tight line and a good length from her as well. I'm seeing her for the first time, so there are obviously others that have been singing her praises. In fact, all winter people have been saying, you watch this girl, she's going to be something this year. And apparently she had an absolutely storming pre-season, which has pushed her into this side. Comes in and bowls again, and length ball which is hit harder, but straight to Shrubsole. Have a throw at the bowler's end, and that's close. It misses the stumps. It avoids the umpire having to make a decision, and I think that would have been close either way. Took a risk there.
From the reaction on Anya Shrubsole, who was the one who threw that ball in from mid-off, that one was close. And of course, at that angle, you've got almost the 3 stumps to aim at. Maybe 2.5. 2.5, being generous.
We'll give her the benefit of the doubt. 93 for 7 then, 3 balls left of the 19th here. The field scatters on the leg side once more for Laura Jackson, who's off 5 of 7 deliveries. Here's her 8th coming as Kemp bowls up the hill. Left arm over, slower ball, and it hits Jackson on the pad. That will run through for a leg bye. That's all that they'll be able to get on that occasion, and the score inches up to 94 for 7, I think that'll be. Yes, it is, but the overs and balls are running out here for the Thunder. And well, I think they should get to 100, but we were talking 120 not so long ago, but those wickets of Kate Cross and Phoebe Graham have really set them back.
Just getting some wise words there from Anya Shrubsole.
Yeah, she's had plenty of the last few balls, but Kemp comes in again and bowls. That's another leg ball, which is heaved away on the leg side. Not really timed, though, by Turner, but he goes out to deep mid-wicket. Are they going to chance the arm of Schofield? They don't. I think I heard 1 or 2 groans in the crowd. They're going, oh. But they don't chance it. But I say, decent crowd here this afternoon. There was, I think, when I spoke to somebody who obviously knew a little bit what they were talking about, I think one of the stewards, they said I think they'd pre-sold about 120 odd, but they were expecting a bit more on the gate, and that's certainly been the case. As Kemp comes in and bowls to Jackson once more. Slightly slower ball. Jackson waits, turns that away, but can only find the fielder at a point. That's Ellen McGacken. End of the over. 19 gone, 1 to do, 95 for 7.
That last one, the back of the hand slower ball again from Kemp, and I think what is making her performance so far in this game and so far in the pre-season so good is that she's just playing fearless cricket at 17 and just pushing her way into this squad. She doesn't have much to lose, and she could just really go out there and be bold, play these inventive shots, because of course she's got runs for the Vipers so far in this pre-season. She is an absolutely explosive batter. She can come in and give it an absolute whack. So useful for the Vipers in the bowling department and the batting department. And of course we've seen with that catch down at deep fine leg that she's a good person to have in the field as well. And actually this final over being bowled by Nancy Harmon, leg spin to finish, and that's a reverse sweep from Turner. It's running down towards the third man boundary just in front of us, and Ellen McCacken scoops in the ball right behind before the boundary. And I think that's one of our only 2 runs of the innings.
Yeah, hasn't been too many, is there?
It's what we were saying though, of if you're hitting to the sweepers, it's a single. If you get it past the infield and the sweepers, it's a 4. And it's really, really difficult on a pitch with an outfield this quick and a boundary this size to find those 2s in the field. So inventive stuff from Jackson, as that's Turner advancing down the pitch now and pushing to mid-on for another single. Turner hasn't looked too comfortable at the crease, but she's gotten to 5 off 6 off 10, apologies. And these two just looking to propel Thunder past that 100 mark. As Harmon in, and this is lofted over her head by Jackson to the fielder at mid-on. And another good bit of fielding there. A dramatic dive from whoever that is down there on the boundary.
Long way away. That is Charlie Dean.
Charlie Dean's been all over the place.
Yeah.
She was just in front of us a second ago as Nancy Harmon in, advancing down the wicket as Turner wristily working this away to deep mid-wicket. Maya Bouchier fields, and another single taken, and a round of applause, a warm round of applause to the Thunder for advancing past that 100 mark. Of course, we were just saying it felt as if there should be a few more runs on the board, especially after the start. Thunder got off to a flying start in the power play. But it's been pulled back by the Vipers since then. It's short and flat by Harmon, cut away to the fielder at cover, straight to the fielder. That was fortunate, as that one was a bit wider.
Last delivery coming up.
100 for 7 then, the Thunder. One delivery remaining, a completely packed offside field. As Harmon gives it some flight, it's a low full toss, mistimed by Jackson. They'll be looking for 2 here as Dean gets the ball into the keeper's end, but it's a wayward throw, and the 2 is comfortable in the end. So the Thunder finished on 102 for 7 off their 20 overs. It started well for the Thunder with that opening partnership between Emma Lamb and Georgie Boyce. Then the first wicket fell at 36, second wicket fell when Thunder were 44, and ever since then these wickets have just been falling regularly, and it's kind of stunted that run rate for the Thunder. So it'll be a very happy Vipers side going back into that changing room, and you'd like to think they'll be confident in chasing down this target. Yeah,
it looks a good wicket out there here at Hove. Yeah, you're right, they did start well. 40 for 1 after 6 overs in the power play, and it looked like they were on for a score in excess of 100, but pegged back by the Vipers bowlers. Emma Lamb, top scorer, 23 of 23 balls batting at number 1, but there wasn't much support there. Ellie Threlcold with 18 of 29 coming in at number 4, but there wasn't much behind that either. Top wicket takers for the Vipers, Charlie Dean 2 for 17 from her 4, 2 for 13 from 4 for the 17-year-old Freya Kemp, and a wicket each for Lauren Bell, Anya Shrubsole, George Elwis as well chipping in. Right, we're at the break here, 102 for 7. When we come back in about 10 or 15 minutes or so's time, then the Vipers will be looking to score 103 for victory. Yes, welcome back to Hove. Then it's still very sunny overhead. Still a perfect afternoon for cricket, and the Thunder team are out in the middle, and closely followed by the Vipers openers. It looks like Charlie Dean and Georgia Adams opening. I think, I don't know, I'll have that confirmed for you in a moment. It might be Alec McGuckin. But the state of play at the break is that the Thunder, they finished on 102 for 7 of their 20 overs. Top scorer was England batter Emma Lamb. She made 23, and there were some good bowling performances from the Vipers. 2 for 13 off 4 overs from 17-year-old Freya Kemp, the left-arm pace bowler, in her first game for the Vipers, impressing, and a good catch down at fine leg to go with it. 2 for 17 from 4 from England off-spinner Charlie Dean. Melissa Story, 102 for 7. It could have been more for the Vipers, couldn't it, at one stage?
Absolutely. I mean, the way the Thunder went out there in those first 6 overs looked as if they'd be aiming for a score of 130 or 140. But the Vipers should be confident in chasing this down, and perhaps chasing this down in quite a comfortable amount of overs.
Right, we've got England pace bowler Kate Cross to bowl from the C end. Melissa's been rushing up the steps to get back in time, and his first delivery, right arm over the wicket, is outside the off stump of Georgia Adams, and left alone as it goes through to keeper Ellie Threlcold. So Ella McGuckin is the opening partner for Adams. It's an all Sussex opening attack, and it's back to where we were in 2020, really, wasn't it, with McGuckin and Adams opening in the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy, which was the only trophy around in 2020, and they were a successful opening partnership. McGuckin had played second fiddle a bit last year, didn't really get in the side. There's a lovely drive through the covers there from Adams. Nice piece of timing. It won't go all the way to the row, but she did find the gap, and she picks up a couple of runs. And the Vipers innings is underway.
Yeah, McGuckin got a bit unlucky in this last season with Danny Wyatt coming back from England for a period and just slotting, of course, into that opening spot, because who can really say no to Danny Wyatt? But she was unfortunate. She was sat on the side for a bit, then she got a few chances down the order, actually got selected in kind of a 100 squad but didn't play, and then as soon as she got out, she got COVID.
Is Cross then bowls. That's a cut shot there from Georgia Adams. Goes down towards squarish third man. Goes quite quickly, just a single. Adams moves on to 3, and that's the same score of the Vipers.
But she's had a really good start to the season. They recently played Western Storm, the Southern Vipers, in a warm-up game at Newport. And I believe she got 80-something off a very small amount of deliveries with a strike rate of around 170. And she's really upped her game in these last few years. She's developed a few quirky shots, which hopefully we'll see in this innings.
Here's Cross then, bowls. It's bowled. Oh, first ball, she's gone. A length ball there from Kate Cross. And McGuckin seemed to play all around that delivery and got through her defences. And they may just have nipped back a fraction off the pitch, but McGuckin's feet were nowhere.
No, and that was complete commentator's curse there with that last shot, but the worst kind of delivery to get first up. Your feet aren't quite moving, your hands aren't quite ready in seeing the ball, especially as you've just seen your partner at the other end comfortably time a few deliveries. You also want to feel bat on ball, but as you say, there was not much movement there from McGuckin, and not the best way to start your season. She'll be disappointed, but thankfully for the Southern Vipers, they have a long batting lineup. And joining the captain at the crease will be Maya Boucher, who has had an incredible winter, really, out with England in Australia.
She certainly did. I mean, she was part of the England A team, wasn't she, for a while? But then she played in the T20 as part of the Ashes. Just the one, though. That was in the first, and then that was that. But then she didn't get selected for the World Cup squad, and she stayed out in Australia anyway and played for Western Australia. So a lot of cricket this winter down under.
It's almost like she's had no off-season. It's just all year round, constant cricket.
So Maya Boucher, right-hander, facing Kate Cross, pushes forward, and that's gone out to backward a point, and that'll be a run straight away. She's been part of the Hampshire T20 early season side, which there aren't too many in this side that haven't been playing for Sussex early season. I think Maya's the only one in this side who played for Hampshire, because no Emily Windsor in the final 11. Can't think of anybody else. They always played a bit for Sussex, didn't she? Charlie Dean didn't play anything at all, Charlie Dean, because she had a bit of a break. She would have played for Hampshire. Here's cross again, length ball, which Adams strongly pushes out into the covers. Good over then from the England bowler. And the Vipers chasing 103 for victory, are 4 for 1.
Yeah, you feel as if Maya Boucher got a bit unfortunate, obviously going across to Australia and not quite getting as many games as she would have hoped. But just the fact she's in and around this squad is a good sign for her. She had a bit of a shaky almost start to her season a few years ago when, of course, her bowling action was declared illegitimate. In the sense that there was a slight bend in her arm, and she almost had to go from an all-rounder to predominantly a top-order batter, and she really turned things around for herself in that period. Has come out now around this England camp as a batter, and actually I've seen some clips recently that she has had the ball back in hand now, so if she can introduce that all-rounder element again to her game, then it's just yet another bowling option the Vipers could call on. But for now, her focus of course is with the bat. And it looks like Phoebe Graham will be bowling from the Cromwell Road end to Boucher. And that's a shorter ball first up, and this is pulled away by Boucher. The 4 runs down to the fine leg boundary. It was just the faintest of edges off her bat, but it was a wide, short delivery and didn't take much to put it away from the boundary. In fact, it was such a loosener that Phoebe Graham ended up on the floor running down that hill. Maybe it was the momentum, maybe it all got a bit too much.
Sometimes that hill can run away with you, that's for sure. I'm talking from experience as well. I noticed you came back with some chips there. Are you going to have a chance to eat those?
I don't know, because I'm a bit sad because just watching them go a bit cold as Phoebe Graham in shorter ball again down the leg side and signalled wide by the umpire. The Vipers also get through for a single here. It's 2 runs taken. So I went all the way round to up where the players kind of are, that cafe
is that
area.
how far away it was?
And of course you only have about a 10-minute innings break, so the few bits of media here, we were all running around to the other side, getting in the queue. I've got you a sausage roll. It was warm. I'm not sure it will be warm by the end of this.
Well, look, why don't you have an over to eat that, and I'll do the commentary, and then you do an over a commentary, and I'll eat the sausage roll. How's that?
This is a fantastic deal.
Yeah, you do this over and then eat the chips.
Phoebe Graham bowls, and this is outside the off-stump, guided to Laura Jackson at backward point. And a dot ball.
Is that a deal?
Yeah, I think this is a great deal, because you not only said I ran to the commentary box to get her in time, but I was running whilst balancing chips going upstairs. And if that's not a talent, and I'm not sure what is, but yeah, I am keen to eat them whilst they're still a little bit warm. As the professional athlete would, no longer professional athlete. And that's a hook attempt from Georgia Adams there, another back of a length delivery from Phoebe Graham, using her height there. But Georgia Adams not quite making the contact with that ball as she'd hoped. It just almost got swatted down to the ground like a particularly heavy fly. You know, the ones where it's quite satisfying when you get them. In is Graham again, and that's a wide ball outside the off stump. Almost went down to Georgie Boyce there at first slip, and Graham not looking like she's got quite in the rhythm yet. You almost can draw a parallel between her and Lauren Bell here. Both very tall bowlers trying to run in, bowl as fast as they can. Of course, the only difference being they were both operating from different ends here, but Graham to Adams, a fuller ball driven by Adams down the ground, and it's a misfield from, I think, Alex Hartley there at mid-off. That will be 4 runs. And a confident stroke play there from Georgia Adams. That was over-pitched by Graham, and Georgia Adams just launches on those deliveries.
I tell you what, there was some power behind that shot, wasn't there? I think that surprised. Oh, she was put under pressure there, Alex Hartley, because you knew they were running. But I tell you what, that ball was travelling quicker than she thought, quicker than I thought.
That is if it is Alex Hartley. I'm not too sure if I've got that right.
I think it might be.
I don't want to condemn her to a misfield and then have it not be her. As Graham in again, that's a better length and just pushed to extra cover this time, straight to the fielder, who throws in over the head of Threckle. Thankfully, Georgie Boyce in slip had run round to back up that throw. And this has been a long over so far from Phoebe Graham. It feels like one of those ones where you just, as soon as a few things go wrong, you just want to get it over and done with, but they seem to go on forever. I believe this is the last delivery. Eventually.
Chips are getting colder.
As Graham to Adams, and Shorter guided down to third man. The fielder at third man is running in sand here and allows it to go through for 4 runs. An expensive over from Phoebe Graham first up. The Vipers 19 for 1 and 4 fours from the over.
Yeah, fifth, yeah. Wow. We saw this with Lauren Bell, didn't we? A bit of a mixture, some wides and the extra pace, allowing the batters to really get some pace on their shots. And we saw that with Lauren Bell. We've seen that with Phoebe Graham. And it was almost as if it's the perfect time to bat during the power play as well. Plenty of gaps once you get it through the infield. Only 2 fielders allowed outside the circles. So again, we're seeing batters profit in these early overs. Remember, 40 for 1, the Thunder after 6 overs. Here's Kate Cross, bowls to Maya Boucher up the hill. Boucher pushes forward. That's out square on the offside, fielded by Laura Jackson, and there is no run. So 19 for 1 here, the Vipers making a start on this 103 runs that they need for victory. Let's bring you up to date with the other games that are going on in the Charlotte Edwards Cup this afternoon. 2 groups of 4, remember, in this competition, which reaches a climax on finals day on June the 11th at Northampton, as Boucher tries to work that down the leg side, and it's called a wide. So that's more runs to the Vipers total. So also in this group, Lightning have begun their reply. Northern Diamonds making 177 for 5 off their 20 overs. Lightning are 4 without loss in the second, and in the other group of 4 in this competition, defending champion the Southeast Stars. Come back to that as Kate Cross comes in and bowls to Boucher. Boucher hits over the top over mid-wicket. She doesn't quite get hold of it. The ball's racing away. Won't quite make it all the way to the rope. And that is picked up at deep mid-wicket. And that'll be a couple of runs there for Boucher. Come off a bottom inside edge there. She's trying to hit that a little bit straighter down the ground, but she moves on to 7. It's 22 for 1. The Southeast Stars, defending champion, as I say, they're beginning their reply to the Sunrisers, 122 for 6. The Southeast Stars are 15 without loss in the first over. Good first over from them as Boucher pushes forward to good length delivery from Cross. Again, that goes out to point. And Western Storm taking on the Central Sparks. They're in the break there between innings. Central Sparks scoring 156 for 4 of their 20 overs. So the Thunder, the lowest scoring side of the games that are taking place this afternoon. Melissa was wolfing down those chips and a drink to help them go down, as that's hit down the ground in the air, safe, and that is 2 bounces for 4 over deep mid on over the head of Hannah Jones. That's what Boucher was trying to do a couple of balls before. She got that out of the middle. That is a lovely looking shot. She moves on to 11 and it's 26 for 1. Melissa.
Maya Boucher has come off the back of quite a few half centuries here in this pre-season in the UK, and she'll be feeling very in form, and in fact pace on the ball is exactly what she's looking for in capitalising during this power play.
Yeah, there's Cross again. Boucher just plays that out to Laura Jackson, who throws at the keeper's end. They'll come through for a single anyway. That's good running. Bit for Laura Jackson to do there, moving to her left. Boucher moves on to 12. 27 for 1 here, the Vipers. Remember, chasing 103, and we're 1 ball away from completing 3 overs, so just about halfway through the power play as Melissa's taken another swig of drink to help those chips go down.
I think I ate them like a drunk student at 3 a.m. It's monstrous.
Cross again. There's a nice drive on the up by Adams, but can't pierce that field on the offside. That's a good bit of fielding by Danielle Collins. That's the end of the over. 27 for 1. Adams has 11. Boucher has 12.
And Kevin James can now be tapped out to eat his sausage roll as we continue in this adventure of who can eat an entire meal within 6 balls' time. Stay tuned to see which one of us gets indigestion. But an interesting start, as you say, for the Vipers, absolutely soaring along. And thinking about these bowling options for the Thunder, I'm slightly disappointed that with the bowling options they have, especially in the spin department, they didn't open with potentially a spinner. They may have missed a trick here. Of course, Kate Cross could have taken the new ball. She's taken the new ball from the C end, but Alex Hartley, who we're just seeing come into the attack now, it's been interesting to see if the Thunder would have just been adventurous enough, daring enough to come in with that spin early on. And I'm sure you'll ask many top order batters, the last thing they want to face when they're early on in their innings is spin. Just pace off the ball. And actually, Georgia Adams has been susceptible to spin early on. But here comes Alex Hartley, and that's down the leg side. First ball signalled wide by the umpire. She's bowling to Maya Bouchier, who is one of those players who is good against spin. She doesn't seem to seek out those big shots, but she's good at just working the ball round, navigating the ball into the gaps as that slingy sidearm action from Alex Hartley, tucked away to Satyapayat, square leg for no run. You can just feel that a few of these Thunder players, they've got a bit loud again. They know that it's not all over for them just yet. They've just got to pull it back in terms of run rate after that expensive Phoebe Graham over, but this has been driven down the ground. It's a lot of work for the fielder at mid-on. Have they pulled the ball inside the ring? It's all a bit confusing there. The fielder's lying down on the ground. From the response of the crowd, it looks as if that was just saved on the boundary. There, that delivery over pitch by Alex Hartley, and in fact probably just clipping her finger there as she shakes her hand and bowls again to Bouchier, and that's a slower ball which she looked to work away to the leg side but ended up just trickling down to Phoebe Graham at fine leg inside the ring. Kevin James, that was incredible.
I haven't eaten it all.
Oh my goodness, I was going to say it's about the size of my hand.
Oh, that's a great sausage roll.
I'm very glad. As Hartley in, and down the track is Bouchier. This is in the air. Will it carry? No. One bounce, two bounce to the fielder at long on, who didn't seem to make too much of an effort to get to that opportunity. Maybe she just judged that there was no way she was ever going to get near, but it looked almost a bit laissez-faire out there on the boundary. As Adams on strike to Alex Hartley. That's a flatter ball and just flicked away again to square leg for no run.
I know Alex Hartley does a lot of broadcasting now. I mean, she's very good at it as well. Do you get the feeling that she's kind of sort of winding down cricket a little bit?
So she has spoken about it as she's in again. This is lofted in the air. It could be a wicket, but no, just over the hands, outstretched hands of the fielder at mid-off. Alex Hartley's down on two knees right next to the stumps and just knows it. There was probably two chances there in that over for Thunder, but it doesn't seem to kind of be that feeling in the field. These fielders not really going for it. That one, you just feel as if the fielder could have timed their jump a little bit better, but the spin creating opportunities straight away. And going back to what you asked about her career, she's spoken again, we mentioned on the No Balls podcast, about obviously giving up the captaincy, and as we spoke about her career in broadcasting is absolutely flourishing. So I do feel as if these next 2 years are maybe just toning things down for herself. I reckon 1 year, 2 more years maybe of playing she has projected, but you never know. I think a lot of it depends on the player's enjoyment, and she's been very outspoken and honest about losing certain elements of enjoyment, but actually this season so far has been really enjoying herself again and getting back into it with, of course, the Thunder Girls, and then joining the Welsh Fire for the 100.
Hannah Jones then with a slow left arm spin from the C end, and that's driven pleasantly by Boucher, but only as far as mid-off where Hartley does the fielding, and there is no run. Another player that played in the Northern Rep team in the early season T20 inter-county T20 competition, also played for England A against New Zealand last year in a warm-up game, as that's driven out square on the leg side. Pye doesn't pick it up cleanly, and they'll pick up a single. The throw is over the keeper's head, throw gold. A bit untidy there from the Thunder on that delivery, allows the Vipers to come through for another single. 36 for 1 they are. They need another 67 here, and we are in the 5th over. Remember, 20 overs per side. Hannah Jones round the wicket, bowls. Adams turns that away on the leg side. That's going for 4 on the 45. Past a diving Phoebe Graham. Pye's not catching that one. And both these batters for the Vipers look particularly strong.
They do, and there's almost this glint you sense in the Vipers' eyes that when they manage to reduce their opponents to such a low total in that first innings, especially as the run rate required is less than 1 run a ball, they just know they can chase this down. They have the confidence in themselves, and actually they'll be looking at almost their net run rate in this innings, I think.
Yeah, 63 needed. Adams drives, doesn't time it as it goes up to Hartley at mid-off. I mentioned Hannah Jones playing in that England A game against New Zealand in that warm-up game last August. England A actually won that game against the Kiwis. Actually, they're not called the Kiwis, are they, women's side? Are they called something at Silver Ferns or White Ferns? That's right, White Ferns. Short, and that's cut away by Adams, and that's half stopped in the covers. That wasn't an easy piece of fielding with the mat just in front of you. You never quite know what it's going to do off that, but did well in the end. Keep it down to a single. Vipers have moved on to 41 for 1 then, and there's 1 ball left of the 5th, and it will be Boucher to face as Jones bowls. Boucher goes aerial over mid-off. Oh, she likes that shot straight. And that is well timed again. Couple of bounces over the head of Alex Hartley this time. And Boucher moves on to 20. Or is it more? No, it's 20. 45 for 1. The Vipers need 58.
And that shot just shows how Maya Boucher has elevated her game in these last few years, transforming herself to a top order batter, because she's always had that ability to, as we've spoken, work the ball around the field, find the gaps, but actually that almost aerial drive over the fielder at mid-off has become a real strong point of hers, especially in the power play, of course, because it's very rare that you have fielders deep at long on and long off in those first 6 overs of the game. So just having that boundary option always at place, and that's what distinguishes the good players from the amazing players, is that ability to, if the ball is being bowled to you right now, where is your boundary? Some players will always go to the reverse sweep, but Maya Boucher's shot is over the bowler's head.
Yeah, it's a strong shot, isn't it? There's never any doubt when she's hitting that.
Alex Hartley then to continue from the Cromwell Road end, bowling to Adams, and she chips this in the air over the head of the mid-off fielder. Is that 6 runs? A few members of the crowd have jumped up in their bright orange Vipers tops, hands raised in the air. And that was a glorious shot there from Georgia Adams. She just got underneath it and scooped it up to the boundary. And these two on a roll at the crease.
Well, we're seeing some power hitting that we didn't see in the Thunder innings. That's the first 6 of the game as well.
As Alex Hartley skips in again, it's a flatter delivery and cut off the back foot by Adams. A misfield at backward point, but doesn't cost any runs, as Adams hit that ball and wasn't quite satisfied with how much she middled it. She probably middled it about 87% rather than the usual rate of 100. As Hartley in, and this is scooped up in the air again. This ball even straighter, and that's 4 runs, 2 bounces to the boundary rope. And this is looking effortless now from Georgia Adams. She just has that ability, both of these two players, in the power play and against the spinners especially, just to make the most of these fielding restrictions. And actually, they're making Alex Hartley look rather ineffective in this over. The Thunder looking a bit lost for options, as around the wicket now is Alex Hartley, and that's swept to the fine leg inside the ring for no run.
I mean, the strength of shots we've seen in the last few overs, amazing.
Georgia Adams has a lovely cricket bat, and I have proof of this as Hartley in, and that's hit firmly down the ground by Adams to the fielder at long on for another single. Just ticking off these runs here. 11 runs off the over so far, 1 ball remaining, because my friend in fact has one of Georgia Adams' old bats, which I think was given by Georgia Adams to one of the boys at the Sussex kind of setup. As in comes Hartley, final the ball of the over, and that's an unusual shot there from Boucher, who's almost looked to play a shot, let the ball just hit her, and hit her bat almost limply, and the ball's just dropped into the leg side for no run. I'm not quite sure what Maya Boucher was thinking there, but a good over for the Vipers. They're 56 for 1 off 6 overs. So yeah, my friend then got passed on Georgia Adams' bat, and I have seen it in use at the nets, and it's got a glorious middle.
Well, there you are, seeing it.
And that's the old
already.
bat, not even the new bat.
So the power play has been used up. 6 overs gone then. 56 for 1 the Vipers, and this was actually, the first 6 overs was by far and away the Thunder's best period of their innings. They were 1 for 40. Or 40 for 1, I should say, off 6 overs. So it's been a great start by the Vipers. It was a very good start by the Thunder, but this is where the Thunder kept losing wickets from then on frequently, and they never really got the innings going after that. So the Vipers only need 47 from here And already this looks to be a fairly one-sided contest. But things can change, of course. Laura Jackson is into the attack with her right arm medium paces. The keeper is standing up. Ellie Threlcold bowls, and Adams off the back foot nearly hits Maya Boucher at the non-striker's end, who had to duck low under that one. And even then, it nearly still hit her on the helmet. And that'll be a 1.
It was quite impressive, actually, how low she got and was still able to propel herself upwards to take the single. If that ball had been coming towards me, I would have dramatically thrown myself on the ground and refused to move.
57 for 1 then. Boucher facing Jackson. It's down the leg side, and it's a full toss, which is hit even to Pye at deep square leg, away to our right in front of the main scoreboard. 58 for 1. Boucher's on 21 now. That's off just 16. Adams has 32 off just 21.
It was hit, but I'm sure it hurt as well, with every single being taken for the Thunder, just having their total chipped away at.
Jackson's rolling up the hill from the C end here, and just one of those little in-swingers there, which just follows Adams as she tried to find a gap in the offside. There's a missed field at point. I think that might be Hannah Jones there. And she doesn't look particularly pleased with herself. But it's only a single. It's not the end of the world. 59 for 1, but with the Vipers only needing 44 here, there's still plenty of overs left. The Thunder have got to find something here from somewhere. Here's Jackson, bowls, and Boucher pushes that out into the covers, and Hannah Jones looked surprised, actually. And she sort of went for it, stopped, and then went for it, but it was well in the gap. There is a sweeper behind her. An easy single for the Vipers takes them to 60 for 1. And this looks all too easy for these two.
It is, and I know it's only a misfield which leads to 1 run, that previous delivery, but in the Vipers' innings there was no misfields. You felt as if every fielder was putting in 100% of their effort, which hasn't quite translated into this innings.
Agreed. That's a length ball which is played back to her by Georgia Adams.
And that's not to pin fault on the Thunder or say they're a worse fielding unit, but when a team is coming at you this hard like the Vipers are, they're 60 for 1 off 6.5 overs, it's very easy to let your head drop a bit, and that reflects in your fielding standards and just how aggressive you're being in the field.
Jackson bowls. Okay, that's a good length ball, which Adams steers to extra cover. That's a better over for the Thunder, with just 4 runs coming off it, with the Vipers 60 for 1. 7 overs gone. We've got 13 overs potentially left of the home side's innings. I think what we are as well seeing here, Melissa, is that just how much easier the newer ball with a bit of extra pace is for these batters to hit. And he's pinging off the bat, isn't he, for both sides early on.
Absolutely, and you see it in domestic sides, but actually across the international scene as well, of how much teams struggle when the spinners come in, and that makes the difference with a side like the Australian women, and just why they're so successful, because they have that ability to keep going at that power play pace, but into the middle overs, and really put the pressure back onto the spinners. And hopefully, as we see this England side, as well as all the English domestic sides, catch up with this Australian high standard, that they'll be able to continue with this momentum, just like the Vipers have done. But then again, we always speak about it, but Vipers do have a quality batting lineup, which is probably one of the very top in the country.
Yeah.
And that's why it attracts so many players to come play for the Vipers here, like the likes of Anya Shrubsole.
You've got Emma Lamb.
Emma Lamb with her spin, flatter delivery, and this is hooked away in the air towards the boundary. Sachi Pai there on the boundary doing a good bit of fielding, stopping a definite 4. She's been all over the place in the field today for the Thunder. I think I've spotted her in about 7 different places. She must have some kind of portal device where she could just step into it and go from fine leg to deep cover.
It's a big playing area, isn't it? I mean, we're fairly central here today, which I think, again, is a testament to this fixture. We're not on one end of the square, and the boundaries are quite big.
Lamb to Adams, who's sweeping in the air, but again, not towards a fielder. Sachi Pai getting round this time to her right. And another good bit of fielding there in the deep, which gets a warm round of applause from the crowd behind her. She's got a good arm there on the boundary, which is making sure the Vipers can't take any 2s when the ball's going towards her. Boucher on strike. Again hooked away into the leg side. Sachi Pai there has a lot to do in the deep, and again a good bit of fielding. keeps it to a single. It almost feels as if there's some communication here between Emma Lamb going, I'm going to bowl every single ball spinning into the leg side for them to play the exact same shot to. We've almost been caught in some simulation here where we're seeing a Groundhog Day delivery, but that one's fuller and straighter from Lamb and driven back to her, and the simulation's broken.
It's a better length. Forced the batters on the front foot, being too short otherwise.
She does bowl with that just quickened pace as a spinner, so it can lose her line a bit. As this is scooped up in the air, there's a fielder underneath it having to run backwards, and the catch taken. A great catch there by
Hannah Jones.
Hannah Jones running back to her right, the ball coming over her shoulder, and an important wicket there as Georgia Adams, the Southern Vipers captain, is dismissed. In the end, she made 34 off 27 deliveries, including that big six, of course, over long off. And although it's disappointing to get out, I feel as if she's probably quite happy with the start she's given her team.
Yeah, definitely. Just got underneath that one, didn't she? Got a top edge. It was up in the air. It's a good catch by Hannah Jones, actually. That's a little bit difficult, though, sometimes, aren't they? She's running sort of sideways and backwards, steadied herself well, and took a really good catch in the end. Never looked like dropping it. But, yeah, a little bit disappointment, really. Georgia Adams playing really well there. I think you're right. I think they're looking not just to win this game, but maybe to keep that run rate very high. Going into the second fixture. They shouldn't lose it from here. They only need 40. But in the 8th over there, they've put on 60 runs in about 7 overs, those two. Boucher and Adams. Georgia Elwes is the new batter for the Vipers, the 30-year-old, who I know she was part of the England A trip in the winter, but has played for England in the past.
She has, and she's also very good as a radio summariser as well.
So I hear.
Worked with her a bit
Have you?
during the World Cup. She's got some great stories, Georgia Elwes. She guides that first ball down to backward point on the front foot. Just cautious first delivery to see out the over from Emma Lamb. Vipers 63 for 2 with the experienced Elwes and newly England Boucher at the crease. Two best, well, you couldn't ask for two better batters at the crease. Couldn't get my words out then. Better batters.
Have us some more chips. Go on, finish those for the chips. Go on.
I'm not going to lie.
Are you not going to have any more? Are they too cold now?
They have got a bit cold.
Have they?
They were great whilst it lasted, but I think it's just not worth it now.
It's nice of Sussex to give us some food, actually, isn't it, really, for this game? We've got Laura Jackson, who's bowling up the hill again with a right-arm seamers, and that's hit in the air but safe. It's found the gap there, Boucher. Just hit through the line of the ball, bisected the two fielders at backward point on the 45, and that is 4 runs up towards where the teams are changing here at Hove, which is about 11 o'clock where we look, and it's 67 for 2 now, the Vipers, at the start of the 9th. They need just 36.
And I spy about 4 teapots around the field, which is never a good sign.
Jackson bowls again, and that's a better line as that's driven pleasantly towards extra cover, and underarmed at the bails, and a ricochet off the stumps allows them to come through for a single. Bonus run there for the Vipers.
And you just know that happens when things aren't quite going your way. You go into all that effort of hitting the stumps, albeit I'm not too sure it was necessary, as Boucher was in her ground there, but
Definitely
those
not.
just kind of little mistakes start to build up when you're on the back foot.
Yeah, they'll be really frustrated here. They're well below par score of Thunder, as that's tucked up a little bit there. Elwes, as she worked that out on the 45, fielded by Hannah Jones once more. Don't forget several ways which you can watch and listen to us here, myself, Kevin James and Melissa Story. The BBC online feed, just go to the cricket pages, look for the live action, and follow the link to Vipers against Thunder. We are also on all frequencies on BBC Radio Sonnet, so if you live in the BBC Radio Sonnet patch, then you can pick us up wherever you are on the radio. DAB as well as FM in both Hampshire, Dorset and the Isle of Wight, and we're on the live picture feed. Just go to the Sussex Cricket website, go to fixtures, scroll down to match centre, and there we are with the live pictures. That's a nice dab on the offside there by Elwes. She'll pick up a single, and she's off the mark, 69 for 2.
Interesting, because Jackson is quite a tall bowler, and she has a really nice high action, but as we've spoken about, she's really not getting much bounce off this wicket so far. She's pitching them just slightly back of a length, trying to force the Vipers batters to play, but the balls aren't getting up very much off the pitch.
There's a lot of guys that have done. Now that's in the air, down towards mid-on and dropped. Well, it went quite flat and quite hard to Kate Cross. She's on the deep mid-on boundary just in front of us. We had a great view of it, and she couldn't hold on to it.
It was one of those difficult ones where the ball was flying at you almost of an angle coming right into your chest, and actually the moment Kate Cross tried to catch that ball, it felt as if she was in the air.
Yeah.
Not quite grounded.
Boucher dropped on 29. She's a non-striker. That's a full defensive there from Elwes. Back to Laura Jackson, who will feel a little bit disappointed. It wasn't an easy chance, but I don't think it was difficult.
No, and Kate Cross will be disappointed. You saw her reaction as she's just in front of us here, kind of turned her head away. Those are the catches she will expect to take, especially at that England standard. But it happens to everyone, and those kind of catches sometimes either they stick or they don't. And she did all the work to get there, but the ball just bounced out of her hands at the last minute. But she's a positive player in the field. You saw there as soon as it dropped, she's not going to let something like that kind of bring the mood of the team down. She turned around, clapped the bowler, and it's all you can really kind of do in those situations. It's just act as if nothing happened, which is certainly what I do when I drop. So we have Lamb to continue to Boucher, who has worked that along the ground into the leg side, and the fielder at deep mid-wicket running forward and keeping that to a single.
Had a chat with Maya Boucher and the Vipers press day during the week, and she's very much seeing this competition, of course, as a way of getting into that back into that England side.
Emma Lamb in outside the off stump and cautiously just prodded back to her by Elwes, who advanced down the wicket a bit. I mean, both of these two kind of at the crease, you'd say now, with Emma Lamb with the ball and the bat, and Maya Boucher are both two players kind of looking to fight for the same spot here, you feel. As Lamb in, and that's a leg stump line delivery and flicked away. A chance of a run out here as Elwes just started running for that single, I think, thinking the ball had travelled a bit further than it had, and then suddenly realised it was about 1 metre away from the wicket-keeper, who Threcold was on that very quickly, searching for that run out as Lamb in again and prodded back to the bowler, which goes through her hands there.
Thought she might have stopped that. I just wondered if Boucher may have just put her off a little bit at the non-striker's end.
Potentially. It did just bounce before her hands as well, and almost went through both of them, which as a spinner you're always a bit disappointed in yourself when you're not fielding quite right off your own bowling. But I mean, it's a double standard. Think of seamers. They never are expected to field off their own bowling, but suddenly give them a caught and bowl chance and they'll throw themselves around everywhere. It's a big conspiracy as that's swept by Boucher into the leg side for another single, bringing Elwes back on strike.
Yeah, it's where's the Thunder going to win this from now? Gosh. Difficult, isn't it? You're almost waiting for a batter to make a mistake now, aren't you? And not just one or two, a few of them really. This would be a monumental collapse if Vipers don't win this from here.
As Lamb in again, a flatter delivery and just prodded to the mid-wicket fielder by Elwes for no run, which concludes the over. Vipers 73 for 2, chasing down that total of 103. And I think in this situation, the only way Thunder can win is a bit of a miracle. But speaking of miracles, in that county championship, the Women's County Championship T20 competition, I'm pretty sure one of maybe Phoebe Graham got 5 for 5. And I do think Alex Hartley got 4 for 5.
Okay.
So if there's ever a time to replicate a bowling innings, then that would be now, because it would take something absolutely disastrous to put the Vipers on the back foot right now.
Wow. So that was Lancashire. That was Lancashire earlier on in April, I guess. Yeah. Wow. Well, it would need something like that. That is for sure. Otherwise, time is almost run out. 30 runs needed by the Vipers. We are halfway, technically, through their innings. After 10 overs of the Thunder innings, They were sort of late 50s. I didn't actually write that down, but they were sort of mid to late 50s at this stage. So the Vipers well ahead. That's way down the leg side there from Kate Cross to start a new over. The England seam bowler, whose first 2 overs cost 12, and she picked up the wickets of Ella McGacken.
It wasn't Phoebe Graham. I apologise. I think it was Emma Lamb who took 5 for 5.
Did she? Well,
I'm getting my names mixed up. If I do think Phoebe Graham took 5, maybe recently as well.
right. Well, you'd know, because I mean, you do look at that, and it would be in your head somewhere. That's flicked away by Boucher. Pies after it, and what a stop that is! Wow, that for me, that's the best bit of fielding of the afternoon. Absolutely racing around that deep square leg boundary, and I think she's got the ball into her chin there a little bit. I think that might have hurt, but she just dived at the ball, and it sort of bounced off her hands into her chin, I think. So, is she going to get some retreat? No, she's saying she's okay, but definitely. Bounced into a jaw there, but what a bit of fielding that was. Fantastic. Saved 4 runs. I think the Vipers got 2. They did. But, wow. Athletic. 76 for 2. Bouchier is on 34. Facing the next delivery here from Kate Cross, who's running up the hill away from us. Bouchier steers that into the gap, backward a point. That's a lovely shot, and that's going for 4. Well, I think we've seen the best bit of fielding this afternoon, and I'm not sure that isn't one of the better shots we've seen as well of the afternoon. I'm sure Melissa will disagree with me. 80 for 2. What timing that was?
Well, I would 100% agree with you. Sorry, I'm a bit preoccupied just making sure that Sachi Pai there on the boundary, she keeps just holding her hand under her nose and kind of wiping it on her sleeves. I'm not sure whether she's got a nosebleed there. We see the physio just running round the boundary to treat her. That ball bouncing, I think she signalled bouncing off her arm into her nose. So hopefully she is all right.
Boucher on 38 of just 26 deliveries. Here's Kate Cross, bowls to Boucher once more, and Boucher steers that, but can't find the gap, and they're off. Elwes is off. Boucher's home at the bowler's end, but the minute that went off the bat of Boucher, Elwes was off.
You feel as if the Vipers here just want to finish this as soon as possible. They can sense how close they are to the beach. What a temptation for batters to chase these runs down as soon as possible. If there's not an ice cream van in the crowd, there sure will be one down on the beach.
You can enjoy a couple of hours of sunshine about, 200 yards behind us. Before you go home. 22 needed by the Vipers. They're 81 for 2 in the 11th. Kate Cross to bowl to Elwes. Elwes pushes that on the offside. There's a gap there, and that's a single. You heard the shout. I think it was from Elwes just saying, "Yep," and they were off. Both of them straight away once more.
They're prepared to take a single to absolutely anyone in the ring, which not only shows this almost understanding between the two batters at the crease, what pace they're going to go at, which I think is something the Thunder perhaps were lacking every time they tried to build this new partnership. There felt as if there wasn't communication. One batter was trying to go big and the other one was trying to rotate the strike, and it never quite fit the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, they just lost wickets regularly throughout, as that's almost a Yorker and dug out by Boucher. Elwes is running the first one quickly. She'll run to the danger end if they take 2. They don't trust the throw of Georgie Boyce there, and that'll just be a single. 83 for 2.
And another thing distinguishing these innings is we laughed in that first innings that there wasn't many 2s, and when there finally was a 2, it was like a miracle. But the way the Vipers are running here between the wicket, they're just creating more opportunities. They're running the first one hard and being really proactive at the crease.
They certainly are. I mean, they've got the momentum, haven't they, really, which Thunder never really had. There's another single as it goes to backward a point, and as Melissa says, really, there's almost a run of ball here wherever they hit it. Maybe the fielders are just a fraction too deep. I think that might have been Alex Hartley there at backward a point, but the minute they go off, the ball leaves the bat and they're off, and it's putting pressure on them. 84 for 2, 11 gone.
Haven't seen any of Sophia Turner yet, which is interesting, and she was down on the scorecard coming in at 8, I think. Yeah, 8. So, weird that they haven't gone to her yet. You'd feel as if in this situation the Thunder would be desperate just to give anything a go, but it looks as if Alex Hartley has the ball in hand again, with the Vipers now only requiring a further 19 runs to seal this first victory of the Charlotte Edwards Cup, as Hartley in to Elwes, and that's an inside edge down to 45 fielder in the ring.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where that was going.
The first almost streaky shot you feel between these two.
Yeah.
at the crease, and Hartley just making things happen as that one's lofted and pushed down the ground to mid-on for another single. Easy pickings here for the Vipers.
Yeah, they've got the complete momentum here now, haven't they? Absolutely. It's just a matter of when now.
Alex Hartley bowling with long on, long off. Two fielders out in the deep, and that's swept straight to the fielder. But again, they get through for a single here. It's tight running. Maya Bouchier hit that, and although it went straight to the fielder, she started running straight away.
Yep. Hannah Jones doing the fielding there on the 45. Got a long ponytail, doesn't she?
Yeah, I always feel as if it would get in the way. But then she does bowl spin, so maybe less so, as Hartley and that Barner reverse sweep pulled out from Elwis and appeal from the bowler. Nothing from the umpire. It looked Maya Bouchier signalling there just to her partner that it hit the forearm of her partner at the crease.
Looks like her front pad was well outside anyway.
Bouchier, the one on strike, and she clips this over the head of mid-wicket in the ring. The fielder on the boundary gets round, and a warm round of applause for that effort in the deep. Another single taken. Vipers edging towards this target. Bouchier poised on 42 now, off 30-something deliveries, as that's driven by Elwis casually along the ground and down for another single. The way the light's hitting the scoreboard is making it quite difficult.
Yeah, you probably, because you're on a slightly different angle to me, so yeah, you might be getting a little different.
42 off 30?
Yeah.
Don't need to go to Specsavers just yet. This ground has been bathed in glorious sunshine. A few of the supporters probably wishing that this Vipers innings could just keep going, almost like you have in age group cricket, where once you've chased down the total, you just bat out the rest of the overs, because they are completely enjoying this shot play here from these two at the crease, especially Maya Bouchier, who will be looking to get another half century in this season. 8 more runs for her. Get to that milestone.
Yeah, Joe's just tweeted. I know when she tweets things like this that she actually knows the answer, but I think she's trying to test me, certainly. At Silent Sport, are there bonus points in this competition for comprehensive victories? Well, I mean, there are bonus points. As Hannah Jones bowls with a left arm spin, and that's driven back to her by Elwis. And there is no run, because if you look at, you only got to look at last year's table to know that run rates are certainly important, but there are bonus points on offer. As Elwis works that down towards deep mid on off her leg ball, she moves on to 7, 90 for 2. The Vipers need 13 from here, so I think there's very much that as well.
Yeah, we saw a couple times in last year's competition where, again, the Vipers chose to bowl first. Of course, today they didn't because they lost the toss.
Hannah Jones bowls, and it's whipped away by Bouchier out towards deep mid-wicket. She moves on to 43, 91 for 2.
But actually, the Vipers do like having a bowl first. We've seen across this competition, because they love having that flexibility of coming in the second innings. And if it is a lower total, such as today, then they do like to have a go at it. And with the depth in their batting lineup, going all the way, I think Anya Shrubsole would be batting at 9 today. Now that's some experience there.
Certainly is. Jones bowls, and that's worked into a pad there by Elwis as the ball trickles back to the bowler. Score remains on 91 for 2. The Vipers need 12. 2 balls left of the 13th. Jones quickly into her action again, and Elwis cuts that into the floor, fielded at backward point, fielded by Hartley. And there is no run. Sunshine still out here at home. It's been a glorious afternoon, one which I'm sure many people here have been wandering down to the beach, who live in the vicinity, and probably many that don't and have come into this area. Elwis goes aerial, and that's going straight down the ground, and that's 1 bounce for 4. Lovely shot, straight over the bowler's head, right in the arc in which to hit it. 95 for 2, the Vipers need 8.
I was just going to remark about how Elwis was 8 off 18 balls before that boundary there, and in some circumstances you would worry, but she really is quite an accumulator as she bats. She takes those extra few deliveries just at the crease, just to get her eye in, just to find her ground almost, and then as you see, as she gets more comfortable at the crease, she'll just start to bring out some more of those shots. And actually, the situation in which she's been put into bat hasn't really asked for anything more than that, and it's been a perfect first match for the Vipers top order, when there's not been too much scoreboard pressure, and actually they can just go out there, play some shots that they've been practicing all winter, translate them out into the middle, and just see how they get on, as only the 8 runs required now for the Vipers. Alex Hartley continues. That's a flatter ball fired down the leg side, and the umpire raises their hands. Not the ideal start there from Alex Hartley. Her blonde hair shining in the sunlight. Recently died from her Instagram, I saw. Alex Hartley in, and this is worked away on the leg side. The fielder running in from deep mid-wicket, and they take a single. The Vipers very happy to just trundle towards this target. Or they might finish it in this over. Depends how Georgia Elwys is feeling. She's the batter on strike, and actually both fielders brought up now at mid-on and mid-off. So there is the option to go over the top, and the fielder at square leg also been brought in now by Harley. This could be finished in one shot now by the Vipers, as that one's floated in a big hoik from Elwys. Trickles to square leg and a shy at the stumps. Not that it would mean too much now you feel a wicket, but just as a bit of a consolation for the Thunder, just you feel as if one more wicket now would just make things a little bit better. But as we said, only 5 runs needed now for the Vipers. Alex Hartley just changing her field again. She sent square leg, and now she's bringing them back in the ring, as if Sachipai hasn't done enough running today. As she bowls, and this is down the leg side, and this could have been a stumping opportunity actually. It will be called wide by the umpire. It's gone down the leg side, but actually Bouchier there taking a couple steps down the pitch, lost her balance, but Threcold couldn't quite get her hands on the bails quick enough, as it's swept in the air over the head of the fielder at 45, and that's 4 runs to Bouchier.
I think the scoreboard. I think the scoreboard had the runs to win slightly wrong, but they've got 103 now.
Oh, that's a shocker. So a victory for the Vipers, a very comprehensive victory, ended in an anticlimactic style there from Maya Bouchier, but who better to hit those winning runs than Bouchier? She finishes on 48, not out. And just looking at this scorecard of the game, of course, Thunder in that first innings only managed to scrape up to that 102 for 7. Emma Lamb, the top scorer, with 23, and when that's your top scorer in the innings, you know it's probably not going to go too much your way. Ellie Threcold, the new Thunder captain, second highest scorer with 18, and then extras. But the Southern Vipers, in reply, that has been a comprehensive performance from them with the bat. They didn't seem to be struggling at any point. And the crowd here have been treated to a good game of cricket, but yet again another dominant Vipers performance. Yes, it certainly was. I think the Vipers have sent a strong message and a strong signal out to the rest of the teams in this competition that they mean business this year. They set about that 102 and never really looked like coming anywhere near short. In fact, all it was just a matter of time as to when they were going to pass that total. Over 7 overs to spare the Vipers had in the bank, because apart from Ella McGacken, who was bowled by Kate Cross first ball, Georgia Adams, Bouchier and Elwys dominating the Thunder bowling, and that 102 for 7 from the away side here just never looked enough, did it really? No, and comparing it to some of the scores across the country in those first innings, Sunrisers, they got 122, Central Sparks 150, and Northern Diamonds 177, so this was nowhere near par. The kind of standard which we expect in this tournament in the first innings so far. Of course, it was the Thunder's choice to bat first. Perhaps they may be regretting that now, but for the Vipers, this is exactly how they wanted to kickstart their competition. So that's it from Hove. Live commentary, Vipers against Thunder in the Charlotte Edwards Trophy, brought to you by Kevin James and Melissa Story. Hope you've enjoyed the commentary. We've enjoyed the game. Big win for the Vipers. I think Thunder will